Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, I'm Tristan Riddell.
I'm Matt Hansen.
And I'm Lee Hutchison.
And welcome to the Senate floor.
Talk nerdy to me.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
Episode 46, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 46 of the Senate floor, and you heard correctly, your ears do not deceive you. We don't have just two hosts of the Senate floor right now, we have all three of us in this first ever podcast of all of the hosts of Senate floor.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and welcome, Lee, to, I guess, your first appearance on the main show, and it's for a good cause.
How quickly we forget. I filled in for you while you were sick last
right.
week, Matt. So
I was going to say, last week.
That's
I know,
right.
my coup appears to have failed with obviously you being back and, me having to share some space with you.
Well, I do apologize. You did quite well. Things happen in 2 weeks that make me forget. But including the release of a certain new movie in a few weeks that ties into what we're doing with this show.
That's right. For this episode, guys, as you probably noticed when you download it on your iPhones or on your Kindles or on your Androids, it's this podcast is over 2 hours, well over 2 hours, and that is because we're doing a movie commentary on Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm
so excited. My favorite superhero film.
I had a feeling when I got invited to come along to this show that you were involved in picking this one, Matt, when I got the message yesterday. Would you like to do a Winter Soldier commentary? And I had a feeling, I was like, this has got Matt Hansen's fingers all over it.
You know what? I want to state for the record, this was not my idea.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that's correct. It was, believe it or not, it was actually mine. Like I said, I was like, hey, let's do a Marvel movie. And it was because of what we're talking about right now. It's because of Civil War. And we actually just got the Rotten Tomatoes numbers released today.
They started on Wednesday, but right now they're up to 18 reviews. So far, 17 fresh, only one lone rotten review. It's sitting at a 94% right now. Hopefully that bodes well.
Seems like Marvel have spent some more money to buy the critics again then.
Oh, it only seems. All right. Well, since this is such a long podcast, we're not going to have too much of an intro topic. We're just going to get right to it. This is the first commentary that we've ever done on the Senate floor. But if you've listened to some of our other shows, or whether on the Trek FM network or on Matt's other shows, or Lee, I don't know if you've guested on other shows that done commentaries.
Yeah, have you?
Oh, well, fantastic. So what we do here is we'll do a countdown. We'll say 3, 2, 1, play. And that's when you guys hit play, whether it's on iTunes or on DVD, Blu-ray, Vudu, however you have this movie. Go ahead and hit play when we do. We like to put on the subtitles so that you can hear us and maybe you could do the same. But it's completely up to you. And also, we're going to keep it entertaining so that even if you're just listening in your car or during your commute, you'll still be entertained. You'll still have a good time. Yeah. So you don't absolutely necessarily need the video. All right, is everybody ready?
Yes, we'll do it. We'll do our best not to just get mesmerized by the film and not talk.
All right, so yeah, I'll go 3, 2, 1, hit play, and everybody ready? Everybody queued up?
I'm good.
Yes.
All right, so let's do it. 3, 2, 1, play.
Always love the Marvel intro logo. There's something really
such
a fun design about it. I always preferred the Phase 1 variant of it, but I really like the Phase 2. It's just that really cool. It's just such a fun and exciting
I love
logo.
the fanfare they came up for Phase 2, because that wasn't in Phase 1.
Yeah, Phase 1 was just like pages turning, right? Like
yeah.
And I always just love that little flicker of the sound, especially on like an iMac speaker. Just that page turning, it takes you back to being a kid and just flicking through the comics and just look at the images firstly before you even start reading it.
Okay, can you guys believe it's been just past 2 years to the day that this film came out?
That's crazy.
I actually thought it was longer. Like when I saw that it was 2014, I was like, wait, no.
Oh no, it was 2014. I remember it well.
Yeah.
So what was your first experience of watching this at the cinema then a few years ago?
Midnight showing when it came out here in America.
I saw it the first time. I got to see it 48 hours early, and I had to go see it through in Glasgow, and it was the first day I'd moved back to Edinburgh, and we got stuck in traffic, and I was stressed out of my nut on the road to the Science IMAX. I was like, oh my god, we're going to miss this movie. I knew we should have left early. I knew we should have got the train. We shouldn't have parked. Why is it taking so long? I remember just getting into the cinema, and it was pretty much packed, and it was to time with the European premiere. And I remember just sitting there and just being like, phew, I made it. I always think this is just such a strong introduction to Falcon. The characters, and just that, you know, Captain America is now living in the modern world. He's running around like we do. It's changed times.
It always kind of made me ask, like, you know, he's a super serum soldier and he's got natural strength. It always kind of makes me wonder, how much does working out really help him?
Are you looking at the way Chris Evans is built? Obviously, it helps him a whole lot.
Well, it helps Chris Evans, yes, but I'm wondering about Steve Rogers.
Yeah, well, I think I'm thinking they're one and the same in this.
In your mind, I know that they're one and the same.
And you said you promised you wouldn't drool over Chris Evans.
I never promised any such thing.
That's funny that you bring that up, because my wife, I told the girl that we were doing a Winter Soldier commentary, and she's like, "Oh, so Matt can drool for the 2 hours that you do it."
If you hear a lot of sparking of electricity.
I love this gag of the list of things he has to catch up with.
Did you know it's different in each country?
Yes.
Yeah, the UK, I think we've got it as Sherlock, football, and I can't quite remember, but there's a few different variations, and I think there's a supercut you see online which shows you all the different lists in all the different countries. It's such a cool little gag that it doesn't take much effort, but it's something that kind of fans can play around with, and we can all look up on the internet, and it's probably made for things like Tumblr.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The UK version has Beatles, Sean Connery, and Sherlock. Yeah,
that's the one.
And I just love it because the French version had The Fifth Element and Daft Punk.
You can imagine that was a fun day in the office, just writing up all the lists. What do we think of when we think of all these different countries?
Well, there was our little introduction to ScarJo. Tristan, if I'm not mistaken, this is the movie that helped convert you on ScarJo.
Yes, there were two movies that have converted me, and converted me successfully. That Scarlett Johansson in Winter Soldier, as well as in her voice acting in Her, made me appreciate her a great deal more. Because beforehand, I was just kind of like, you know, it's not like I disliked her. I was just like, it's just another actor, and, you know, who cares? But with this one, it really made me fall in love with her style, and I think it goes to show on how Marvel is using her. I think it's fantastic.
I think I've always given her a free pass, really, since the Lost in Translation days. That movie was a big influence on me when I was like 16 and starting to become quite pretentious, and I think she's fantastic in that movie. But I love this scene here, the setting up of like the idea of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a working thing, that it's not just the superheroes off doing their thing, that they've got this little commando unit that go off and do little missions here and there and head out to sea, and it's really quite cool. You could almost imagine this being its own little TV series.
Yeah, I think I heard it once described as a 1970s political thriller wrapped up in a superhero film. And I just think that's really cool that they went in that direction, and you feel that.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I think of like Marvel Phase 1, I think of them all as quite superhero movies. And I wasn't big into Marvel Phase 2 really until this movie. Like Iron Man 3 I thought was fine. Thor 2 was okay. With this, that's when I think it really clicked with Marvel that they've got all these superhero movies, but they don't have to be superhero movies. This one's a political thriller. We've got a Space Odyssey coming up in Guardians of the Galaxy. We've got Heist movie in Ant-Man. I think we're going to get a lot more of that in Phase 3, where they go, well, it's not a superhero movie. It's the heist movie. It's the adventure movie. It's the cosmic movie.
Right now, they're touting Civil War. The Russos, the directors of this movie and the directors of Civil War, are touting Civil War as a psychological thriller. So
that's brilliant. Like, I don't want to just see superhero movies, because if we're getting 2 a year, it's like, come on, guys, we're a bit bored of the superhero tropes. We get it. Whereas if they play it as, you know, it's almost, think of Star Trek, something we all love. Some of our favorite episodes aren't just the science fiction episodes. They're the ones where it's a political one, it's an action one. That's what I think Marvel is really going to start doing now in the coming years.
Now, when I saw this, we're seeing the boat scene where he's taking out everybody in the boat. I remember thinking no one's going to make fun of Captain America action after they see this opening scene. No one.
Were people doing that to begin with? Were people making fun of it?
Well, people kind of thought it was, I heard people describe it like the first Avenger and Avengers, like, he's kind of strong and he throws a frisbee. But this is a whole nother level. I mean, I was blown away by the hand-to-hand combat in this.
Yeah, this was another level compared to the first Avenger. I mean, not just in action, but also in quality.
Or even Avengers. I think, this tops Avengers for me.
Oh, definitely. I'd say it's definitely my favorite Marvel movie by some distance. It would be up there with Guardians of the Galaxy, but this hits a lot of what I like in movies, and in general, it's a bonus that it's a superhero movie for me. I see a lot of influences, and especially we'll see it in the elevator scene later on, of the hand-to-hand combat of, I'm not sure if any of you have seen the movie The Raid. It's done by a Welsh director. It's an Asian action movie, and it's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and I can see aspects of that influence in scenes like this and the elevator scene later on. It makes for more exciting action, hand-to-hand than superpowers and just like that. You can buy into it, you feel the punches, and it looked incredible in IMAX, this scene alone with all the fighting.
Now, we got a peek at Cap's shield. Did anybody else notice how muted the colors were?
Yeah, this is the shield painted for stealth mode.
Ah, okay, all right. See, I was wondering about that. I was like, I could have sworn it was brighter in this movie.
No, because I remember some of the promos coming out for this movie with a dark blue and white shield, and that's what he uses in this scene.
This is by far my favorite uniform of Cap's out of any movie that he's done.
I've noticed it quite a bit as well, that when I go out to the gym or go for a walk, it's quite common as Under Armour that people will run around with that Captain America look as their tight gym wear, and I've seen it quite a few times as a jacket as well. So it's quite popular here in the UK with geeks for kind of working out and something a bit casual.
Now, okay, so what did you guys think of First Avenger? Because
I know what you thought, and you're wrong.
I hated it. I think it's a horrible movie. I fell asleep 2 times while watching it the second time.
That's because you have ADHD.
Well, I'm quite similar to you in one respect. I saw it. I got in to see it a few days earlier. I had a friend that worked at a cinema at the time, so we went to see it as a kind of midnight event after the cinema was closed. And it was probably the Marvel movie I was kind of most excited for from Phase 1. I really dug the trailers, and I really like Chris Evans. And I watched it, and I was so tired by the time I got to watch the movie that I actually fell asleep for about 40 minutes in the movie, the last kind of act. And then I woke up, and I got around to seeing it a few days later, and I was like, oh, it's good. It's not the greatest. I really had enjoyed Thor. I think I'm in the minority there, and I thought, it's okay.
I love Thor.
But then the more I watched it, the more I really loved it. And I would say it's definitely up there as one of my favourite of the Marvel movies in that kind of the first era of the movies, because it's so unique. That 40s romp with Joe Johnson does a really good idea with it. It's got its own unique visuals, and I just really enjoyed it as a movie. And there's so many really nice beats, and it's so earnest, and it wears its heart on its sleeve. And I think there's so many little great moments and beats in there that I think it definitely stands out. It's probably my third favorite Marvel movie, and it's one I always enjoy watching.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's my favorite Phase 1 non-Avengers movie. Avengers is my favorite. First Avengers my second.
Yeah, I'd say Iron Man is up there for me.
Yeah, there are issues with it, but I think it's a very enjoyable movie, and there's so much I get out of it each time. It's more, I think it's because it's very self-contained compared to quite a few of the other ones. It's quite easy to just put it on and just watch it and not think about other different movies. You kind of get more caught up in the world of Captain America because it's kind of cut off time-wise to the rest of them.
Well, what I admire about it, and I just rewatched it a few days ago because I'm doing an MCU rewatch leading up to Civil War. They had a challenging task. I mean, how do you present a character that can be seen as very, very cheesy and very, very jingoistically American. And they did it in a way where it didn't feel patronizing. It didn't feel like it was putting down other countries. It was very, very earnest, and I thought they struck that balance very, very well. What this movie does is take that earnestness and see what happens to him in a modern day world. So I just like the way that the story evolves in this film.
Yeah, I think regardless of how we feel about the first one, I think we can all agree that this is a much superior film when it comes to action, aesthetic, and story.
Oh, yeah.
You can see a lot of the groundwork it's laying for future movies, but it's very subtle about it, that we really get an idea of where Captain America stands personally in this modern world. And always reminds me of that famous line from Star Trek, that it's easy to be a saint in paradise. And
yes,
you can see Captain America is fighting to kind of bring back those 1940s values of what made America, not to quote Donald Trump, but he's trying to make America great again in the best possible way, that of values and putting people first. And I'm really curious to see how he's going to translate that into Civil War.
I'd vote for Steve Rogers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this fight here is brilliant. It's this kind of, it's that kind of thing you were saying earlier on, that people were making fun of maybe the way he fights. No shield, just hand to hand, firing in there, and it's just excellent.
I get why he didn't use a shield, but why did he take off his helmet?
Because the guy says, "I thought you were more than just a uniform," and so he takes off his helmet and proves that. It's just a little great character moment.
I think this film does a lot of things really well, where we see people like Steve Rogers and we see Romanov, where she's clearly got her separate agenda, and we're already into things like surveillance and how that's kind of working in the real world. And I think this film really kind of was potentially ahead of its time, or really on the ball more than others. We've seen so many films in the past 2 years since this movie's come out that have kind of touched upon the themes of surveillance. How far do you go to monitor potential threats? And I saw it last year with Spectre, and I thought, I've kind of seen this done 3 or 4 times already in a movie. And you see something like Winter Soldier leading the way. So it's really is quite an underrated movie for dealing with quite interesting themes.
Now, we just got done with a moment where we're just done with the ship, and there's that moment between Steve and Scarlett Johansson where the bomb is about to go off, and he picks up Romanov, and you can just tell that she implicitly trusts Steve, that she just goes along with it. And then, but she doesn't just, wait there. She's the one who shoots the window. I love their dynamic of teamwork in this film. This is by far my favorite part of the movie, is their relationship.
Their brother-sister-esque relationship is really, really lights this movie up, I think.
And the one thing I really like as well, now we're into obviously here the S.H.I.E.L.D., that what I think really works with this movie more than others, I'm really into things like this where it's like the minute details of how systems all work, that you get it with like TV series that go on and on. It almost reminds me of like Marvel West Wing in a way, that we've got this government bureau and we're seeing all the different layers that work in S.H.I.E.L.D., the bureaucracy, who reports to who. It's not just someone that just turns up out the blue going, come join the Avengers. It's, in a way, S.H.I.E.L.D. is a boring kind of place to work as well, that everyone's got someone that they answer to. There's so many little details going on, all these different parts coming together, and it does it really quite well.
What's funny here is Sam Jackson just is talking about his grandfather working as an elevator operator, and I can't remember if it was his father or his grandfather in real life was actually an elevator operator.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
And it's just like a little thing that you can see the confidence now that they've been doing this for a good few years now, and you get to see Sam Jackson kind of deliver this line that keep on stepping, and that he's holding onto the bag tighter. You really do get an idea of that it's confidence now, that they can get away with little lines like this where they're just letting things breathe, just little insights to the characters, and giving a bit of a temper to the background, that we've got a character basically talking about their grandfather having a gun. Does it add much to the storyline or much overall? Perhaps not. but it gives you
but
so
it
much
makes
more.
Fury
Yeah.
a dynamic character.
Oh yeah, and it shows you that this lives in the real world, that the sins of American, Europe as well, when it came to slavery and rights issues, that it just peppers it just a little bit. It's just a little throwaway little line in a scene, and it probably in phase one it could easily have been cut out, but here it's just allowed to breathe and give us a wee insight into this person that's we've only seen briefly and in spots so far.
All I think about whenever I see this, because I mean, obviously, when you're accepting the Marvel premise, you're accepting a heightened sense of technological advancement. Okay, obviously, we accept that premise because we're accepting a premise where Thor, the god of thunder, roams around and protects us. Obviously, but every single time I see a scene like this in any kind of Marvel movie, I'm like, who is funding this?
But then you've got to think of as well that in a way, they're at war, like they're on war footing. And when we look at kind of our own history, we think of World War II. What was the biggest advance in technology, medical science? War is the biggest pusher. And when you've just had aliens come through and attack, that really pushes a lot of money probably into projects like this. And the public will buy into it more than, say, tomorrow Obama, when we're going to fund these military ships. Everyone will be protesting in the street. But when you've just had a big attack on New York, and it's this thing he goes, he's convinced the World Security Council. So you almost get the impression that it's a global funding that's really gone into this. And when people see, we saw in Thor 2 the attack on London, we saw in Avengers the attack in America, it really buys into the people will go, here's the money, a couple $100 million each from each country, and the pot does fund things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing that I kind of like about this movie, is that really this is the first movie after Avengers to deal with the fallout of Avengers, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something that the Russos seem to keep consistent, because obviously we've seen from the trailers Civil War is going to deal with the fallout of this movie and Age of Ultron and the first Avengers. So
yeah. Well, at the same time, setting up for the future as well. I found out today, we're obviously in the Smithsonian scene now, that I'm pretty sure that the person that's doing the voiceover for the Smithsonian for is Gary Sinise. Yeah, I didn't know that till today.
And we also just saw Joss Whedon on the elevator just now.
Did we? I didn't even know that.
See? No, I didn't know that.
What I like about this scene is that for people who maybe didn't catch the first Avenger, this is a great little way to kind of fill you in on who Steve Rogers is, what he did during the war.
Yeah.
The people who were important to him.
That's so funny, because this is such a realistic exhibition. I feel like this is real. I feel like I could walk into this and actually see this at the Smithsonian. I love that.
I kind of wish this was at the Smithsonian.
I know, right?
I think what's quite interesting as well is that we see the little kid like looking up and being Captain America. I mean, I think back to when before this movie, First Avenger came out, not many people grew up wanting to be Captain America. They wanted to be Batman,
people thought he was lame.
Yeah, people thought he was lame, and probably quite rightly as well at times. But like, this movie has turned that hugely around. And when you see that little kid, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I go to kind of geeky events or conventions, I see a lot of people dressed as the Captain American. That's what movies like this should be doing. It should be inspiring people to be the next Captain America. And I feel that was something we saw with just past with Batman v Superman, where I look at those and I don't see people maybe wanting to be that kind of Superman, where I see someone like this where if I was a kid, I'd look up to Captain America and think, he is the Boy Scout, but he makes it look so cool, and yeah, why not? I would embrace that.
Yeah, I think, Captain America is definitely a character that you wouldn't mind encouraging your kids to emulate. It's but if you have the current iteration of Superman or any kind of iteration of Batman, you're just kind of like, I don't know, maybe you should go towards somebody who's a little bit more idealistic.
Just this scene with Peggy always breaks my heart. And all
yeah,
that.
It really does.
It's a cracking moment.
Not to mention the emotional impact of the scene, how great it is, and I'm so glad that they included it. But they CGI'd her face so well.
You can't really tell,
you can barely notice, because the thing is that the Russo brothers talked about how makeup design, like old person makeup design, hasn't really advanced that much since the 80s. And so, like old people just like in the movies don't really look like old people in real life. And so they had to take it another level. And so they did that with CGI. Now, like you can tell a little bit, like once you really, really look, but just the casual viewer really can't tell.
You only have to look at Prometheus a year or two earlier to see how bad it can be. And then with this, it does look effortless. It's really, really good.
Well, it also helps that she's laying down and not moving too much,
Sure. The thing that I always take away from the scene, and I just want to preface this has nothing to do with my feelings on him necessarily, but the way that Chris Evans acts this scene, and specifically when she forgets who he is and just the range of emotions that just plays on his face, he's actually a really great actor in this. Like, he just gets it.
What I find really good is, like, she's the last connection to his time, that we know of at this moment, and or he knows. And it's like when she goes that.
See, look at this.
Yeah. And it's like I can't imagine anyone else now as Chris Evans as Captain America. When I don't know about you, but like the other week when we saw it on Twitter, where it was like, "Are you Team Captain America or Team Iron Man?" and it was going viral all over the internet. I don't think I ever saw, like, or next to no Team Iron Man, and I think a lot of that's down to Chris Evans. Like, people buy into Captain America, but people are buying into what Chris Evans is about and what he made of this character, and that's a huge achievement. When we say, Captain America was considered lame, no one wanted to be Captain America's a dork, but now look at that. Like, these are people online, and these sorts of people that probably 4 years ago no interest in Captain America, and now they've got this.
Well, I think it's and Tristan, we noticed this too when Age of Ultron was ready to come out and they were starting to do the promo for it. Like, all of a sudden, Captain America is pushed up front and center with Iron Man. Do you remember, like, all those magazine covers?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They were showing Captain America just as much as Iron Man in posters, in spots, in trailers, in merchandise. And if Winter Soldier didn't happen, that wouldn't have happened.
I think that we see that, and that's maybe the success that Marvel have really earned, is that the things that people were willing to laugh at, Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, a Captain America, Thor, like, they've successfully infected the mainstream. Marvel is the mainstream just now, but it had to work really, really hard to make it a successful thing. It had to build it, take its time, build its, credibility, and it is the mainstream now because it's earned it. It's not just something that's been dropped in.
Now, how legit is having Robert Redford
in
your superhero film?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when he was cast that. But I was at first like, yeah, I enjoyed Captain America, and then I was like, the second one, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then when you see someone like him cast, you're like, I'm on board, count me in. Yeah. That he is just, and this was his first role in 10 years, maybe something like that.
Long time. I think he had just done. Wasn't he in Only God Forgives the year before?
No, he wasn't in Only God Forgives. No, I don't think so.
I thought he was, or he did. No, not Only God Forgives. He did some movie where it was him, and it was some indie film.
It was All Is Lost.
All Is Lost. I knew it was some 3-letter title that had some sort of like ominous.
Yeah.
All Is Lost. I
think that came out before the movie. It came out a good few months before, but he filmed this first, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah, he was very sporadic in the early 2000s, like 2 in 2001, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, and then Winter Soldier in 14. So he did not work that much in this new millennium.
Yeah, it was really his first main kind of role since 2007. You started in The Company You Keep and All Is Lost between those times in 2012 and 2013.
And he really adds to the credibility of the political conspiracy thriller, because that's what he did in the 70s. If you look at All the President's Men and
for sure,
and 3 Days at the Condor, he probably, actually if Marvel movies were made back in the 70s, he probably could have played Captain America.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure. And it's funny that you bring up All the President's Men, because once we get to Steve's apartment, you can actually see that on his bookshelf.
That's brilliant. That's such a good. I'm a real big fan of movies like All the President's Men. That it's the same reason I kind of really enjoy Winter Soldier, that with All the President's Men, I'm really into movies that sometimes are about small players getting caught up in a big story.
And being way over their head.
Yeah, and just like these people don't seek it out. It's almost like things like Zodiac, where I really like that as well. Like, it's a small player that becomes involved in a big story. And it's something I see with this here, that these are just kind of Captain America's, he's on his own, he's got his, the Falcon here, and all these people gonna get caught up in something that just explodes, and like they don't really seek it out, and they just get caught up in it. And I think Robert Redford really adds, as you say, some credibility to that they can get the A-list actors now. They can get these people to come in, and they're not staring at it. Could you imagine Robert Redford doing a 90s superhero movie? Not a chance.
I also want to say, too, is this, like, I really think this was the first time, too, that a sidekick character didn't feel necessarily like your typical sidekick character. I think they did a good job of making Sam more human, because we had seen, even up to this point, I mean, I like Rhodey in the Iron Man films, but they never gave him too much to do. Here I feel that Sam is a three-dimensional character, and you get why he connects with Captain America and why Captain America connects with him.
Yeah, I didn't think that I was going to like Anthony Mackie, but I totally do. I like, not Anthony Mackie, but I didn't think I was going to like Falcon too terribly much. But the way that they introduced him and used him, and I just feel like everything that you said, Matt, they used him appropriately, and they used him just the right amount, because I want to focus more on Rogers and Romanoff, but they gave us just enough of Falcon.
Now this scene.
Oh yeah,
I remember being on the edge of my seat for this scene. Where right now, it's the assassination attempt on Nick Fury.
Oh yeah, and it's such a good action scene, and it goes to show that, like, this is probably one of my favorite action scenes in the entire MCU so far, and it has no superheroes at all. It's just a classic action sequence. It's stripped down. This
could be out of like a Bourne film, a Bond film.
Yeah,
this could be in Heat.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they were inspired by that.
Another thing that I really like about this, and people kind of dog on this for Marvel movies, but I think it really adds something here, is I love the soundtrack to this film.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
It's not like one of those hummable soundtracks. Like, it doesn't have like a Superman theme-esque sort of thing, but it's so atmospheric, especially in this scene. I love it.
It's when the Winter Soldier appears and you get that theme, that it's just, I can't do it very well, but it creates such a sense of tension, dread, and it's an arrival. It almost reminds me of the Joker's theme, that when you hear it in The Dark Knight, you're like, oh, something's about to go down here, something's afoot, and it really creates, like, it's part of the character as far as I'm aware with this movie.
The only thing that disappointed me about this scene is the fact that we didn't get to see a Chevy SUV jet off into the air.
Yeah. I was kind of expecting that when I was watching it. I was like, they're going to fly off soon, like, especially when you see it with the guns and some of the tricks it can do. But as you say, it could be a James Bond scene. It's just so good, and it's Samuel L. Jackson getting to be Samuel L. Jackson. He's not just being the guy who's doing all the recruiting. He's getting like, here you go, step up and play it.
This is the most that he's ever done in any of these films.
Like, I was listening to a podcast recently, they were talking about his performance in The Phantom Menace and the Star Wars prequels. They were like, he's just so sedate that he's not getting to be what we really like from Sam Jackson's, where he's got that intense, intimidating, that kind of black comedy vibe that he does so well. It's like, you could have given Mace Windu to anyone. And it was almost the same with Nick Fury, that, yeah, he had the odd quip here and there, but, like, Nick Fury really could have been anyone. But then with this scene, and pardon me, especially with him in this movie, we really get an idea of, this is why Samuel L. Jackson's in this movie. They're letting him bring what he's brought to so many movies and so many iconic roles, that intensity, that wit and humor.
It's really funny that you bring that up, because when they rebooted Nick Fury's character in the comic books, this was well before the movies, they went to Sam Jackson and said, can we use your likeness for the character in these comic books? And he said, yeah. And then when it came time to cast Nick Fury for the movie, for the cinematic universe, the first name on the list was, well, why don't we just get Sam Jackson?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's so good to see a scene like this set during the daytime, that we're so used to these sorts of scenes being set in the night and in the darkness. And it looks really good with the daytime. Like Washington, I don't know where they necessarily filmed this scene.
It's Cleveland, actually.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually, speaking of Cleveland, you can actually see the the storefront of Winford and Louder from the Drew Carey Show in some of these shots.
And it's good to see like proper violence. It's not like this could be almost Christopher Nolan. The name of the guy who did Heat escapes me there for a second.
Michael
Mann. Yeah, like it's played very very seriously. Like this really stands out compared to a lot of what we've seen in superhero movies. The closest to this would probably be the scene in The Dark Knight Rises towards the end, but it's a proper chase scene, action scene, and it's probably one of my favorite scenes. Like I was so gripped watching this in the cinema. Like I genuinely thought they were going to kill Nick Fury in the scene. I thought he's done for. Like I thought it was going to make a real strong statement of intent, and it's not kiddie humor. It's guns, there's blood, there's violence, people are getting smashed and crushed. You don't see that in these superhero movies often.
I remember when this came out and when this scene was on screen, I remember people talking about, this is a Marvel movie? Like it's
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, like, I know you're a fan of Arrested Development as well, Tristan, that would you have expected like this sort of action scene or movie from the Russo brothers?
It's really funny because the Russo brothers also directed episodes of Community, and the Kevin Feige saw their episodes on Community, and apparently they did such a fantastic job with the quote unquote fight scene of the paintball scene that they did, that they're like, hey, these people could direct a movie.
Now I love this introduction to
the
Winter Soldier.
It's just that look of fear that you get on Nick Fury's face when he thinks he's clear, and there he is, and that music that just kicks in, and it's like, ooh, it creates that sense of dread, and that this is a character to fear. And people seem to overlook the villains in this. Everyone says that Marvel has an issue, and quite rightly most of the time, with creating interesting bad guys and villains. In this, we've got the Winter Soldier and Alexander Pierce, who I think are two fantastic villains and protagonists. And yeah, count me on board for these two.
Yeah, absolutely. I dug on the Winter Soldier because Lee, I think you're right. I mean, there are certain times when I feel like their bad guys, to me personally, can seem more annoying than intimidating.
Right.
And I definitely didn't feel that way with Winter Soldier.
It almost reminds me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example, that you could almost see that maybe Joss Whedon influence on the bad guys, where you would look at it and go, okay, like these are the bad guys for the season, but they're quite quippy and humorous and self-aware sometimes, and that's like, it can be a barrier that if they're not coming across as sinister or a threat, then it almost kills that tension. It's like, okay, just wrap it up, deal with this guy, and it's over. With this, there is a sense of threat, and part of me does wish they had killed Nick Fury in that scene. That I think it would have been a real statement of intent. This is a guy, this is a threat, and it did bother me on my first viewing that was him, still alive after his encounter with the Winter Soldier. It's just so hard to create, especially in franchise movies, tension.
Right.
Like, I can rarely count the times I've watched a franchise movie, whether it be from Star Wars to Star Trek to Marvel to Batman, where I've thought, okay, my superhero's in danger, he's gone, or someone that is a main character is gone. That with the way the contracts are these days, it's so hard to see, a lead character go, or someone that's kind of a regular.
Although I will say, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but in watching these trailers for Civil War, I genuinely don't know how it's going to end. And who's who's going to walk out in one piece.
And it's really great because, I mean, they're using the premise of the comic books, obviously. It's called Civil War, but so much is different between the comic books and the MCU that you can't follow the comics to guess what's going to happen, because they could go in a completely different situation.
Yeah. Like, part of me I don't know what I like that. I don't know what to expect. That we've seen with so many movies lately. You know, we're not just talking about the kind of the Batman v Supermans where people really are ragging on the trailers. It's been a problem for a long time that trailers are, you know, affecting a lot of these movies where a lot of the big beats, you know, moments are already spoiled, and it kind of, you go into the cinema expecting to see certain scenes and that you're like, oh, I've seen this, okay, but that's what I'm really enjoying about this Civil War. Like I said it to Matt, like it shows a confidence that they're keeping it all under base. Like all we know is like maybe one or two action beats here. We don't really know what's going to come. I remember seeing the Winter Soldier trailer for the first time, and I kind of really was annoyed with it because of that scene where you see the helicarrier smashing into the water, and I was like, oh, that's clearly one of the big action moments of the trailer. Like, why? And it was like,
it fooled that scene fooled me, and I told Tristan this before because I didn't know that there was going to be multiple helicarriers in this film. I thought that was the helicarrier from Avengers crashing, and so it completely fooled me on a story beat. Like I didn't know it was an evil helicarrier that they had built.
Yeah, it was just still, even though it could have been anything, it just still felt like I've seen this big action beat.
I love this action beat of him chasing after Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it's so cool.
We need to ask the question, what do you guys think? Is, like, once Chris Evans retires, are they going to do Winter Soldier to take up the mantle, or are they going to do Falcon to take up the mantle? Because both have done so in the comic books.
I don't know, and I have a hard, like, again, not to show my bias or anything, but I have a hard time dealing with Chris Evans walking away from this role because, I mean, I like both of those actors, but whoever fills in for him has some big shoes to fill. I don't know how.
I think we'll see Sebastian Stan take it on.
You know what? I think so too, because I feel like Falcon, Anthony Mackie has actually stated in the press, he's like, Falcon doesn't need to take up the mantle, which kind of makes me feel like they already told him when he came on, listen, you're not going to become Captain America.
No, but Sebastian Stan has said the same thing.
Oh, I haven't read that.
The thing with like Falcon is that he has become, especially, you know, in these past, even though his role was small in Age of Ultron, it was still still one of the movie's highlights, and I think that he has created his own character, and I think we'll see a further development of that. Of like, he has become his own character, that people like the Falcon, people look at him as the Falcon, that I think they're just going to let the Falcon continue to breathe and grow, whereas with the Winter Soldier they can kind of build him up to be that kind of new Captain America. So I can see it, and you know, I know someone that's big on Tumblr, and as far as I'm aware, Sebastian Stan is huge on it. So I think the people of Tumblr would gladly give it a thumbs up to for him to do it.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see. And it's like, as great as Chris Evans is, I mean, there's just, you know, there's going to be a time when the character's just tapped out. You know, you told that story.
It's just one of those things, right? Like it's, you know, I don't know how they're going to do. I don't know how you recast something like a role like Captain America, or you know, I'll give Downey his credit, even Iron Man. I don't know how you do something that goes beyond what these actors have done.
I think what they're going to do is they're not going to recast Tony Stark, but they might recast Iron Man, which I think is a very smart way to go.
That's probably the only way you can do it.
Yeah, at least in this MCU.
And I think with these sorts of things, we see it in movies nowadays, especially comic books. You know, a character going isn't necessarily the end of a character. There's so many ways in these sorts of universes, and especially what we'll see in Phase 3 is the world of magic coming to life. I think that there's ways they can do it. You know, if someone dies, that's not the be all and end all. And ultimately, no matter what we think, people like Chris Evans to Nick Fury, they all have contracts, and you know, whether the money's on the table, like Robert Downey Jr., his contract kind of was coming up, and they went, here's some extra money to come back and do another one. Yeah, I'll go for it.
By the way, when this movie came out, I do remember the talk at the time was Chris Evans is stepping away from acting. Like you were sending me.
Oh yeah.
You were sending me all those articles, Tristan, trying to break my heart. But I think it was like after this movie came out and after he did Ultron, that I sent you that video back, Tristan, of he might like not do a whole bunch of acting roles, but he said he would always be up for Marvel. And I like that about him.
Yeah, he's such a good guy. I think like probably things like this where you probably get such a buzz off it that every few years you've just got to step up into this role and take it on its chin. And like I can imagine it being such a fun thing to do. Like every few years that you do your small indie roles and, you know, smaller roles, take on passion projects and then go, okay, it's the new Civil War movie and off you go.
This has probably opened up doors for him. Because, I mean,
yeah.
I like him a lot, but before Captain America, he was, you know... Oh, yeah, he was that Human Torch guy in those bad Fantastic Four movies. And,
Yeah,
you know,
and the odd romantic comedy as well. And, you know, he was brilliant in Scott Pilgrim. He's one of my highlights in that movie. Like he
So
plays
great.
he plays the...
He's almost unrecognizable in Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, yeah. Hey, how you doing? He's so good.
I love that where he's like, oh, I'm a big fan. Why wouldn't you be?
I just like when he's like, hey, how's life? He seems nice.
It's just, and it's only like a few minute role, and that's pretty much what he was kind of recurrently doing. He wasn't like the big breakout actor or the leading actor, and you know, I think nowadays actors are more prone to avoiding these traps that people like maybe Mark Hamill and actors fell into in the 70s and 80s, where they got typecast and as, oh, you're that guy from that movie, that they now are smart enough to pepper starring in these big movies where they could be known as, hey, you're Captain America, aren't you? With like these smaller movies where they get to go out and do what they want to do and work with interesting directors. And, you know, Chris Evans definitely probably has had a lot of doors opened up for him. I mean, this is so good having Chris Evans and Robert Redford together, and it continues to build up this idea that what is S.H.I.E.L.D. up to, what's going on, who's involved with who, and you know, is Nick Fury, you know, the guy we all think he is? And I must admit, I thought, you know, maybe he isn't, and that was quite fascinating for me.
I figured though Robert Redford had to be something bigger than just a special appearance by in this story, because I mean, Robert Redford doesn't, obviously looking at his resume, he doesn't take things for a paycheck.
No.
And you don't get someone like Robert Redford to not do anything with him. So
absolutely not. Like, I remember the big theory at the time was that he was going to be Red Skull.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And I couldn't imagine Robert Redford kind of buying into that, perhaps.
No.
It's just seeing all this stuff where, like, safe houses and everything, and it grounds this franchise in the real world, like, so well, that people talk about that the only way that you can make big superhero movies, action movies, real is if you kind of make them dark and everyone's angsty. But you can have movies like this where we're dealing with a guy who's a super soldier and all these big things. But at the same time, you ground it in reality with technology, terminology, you know, real life politics. You grind it almost into the mundane, that Captain America isn't just going around doing his own thing. He's working for the man. He's got a boss to answer to. He can't just go off and save the world at the flick of a finger. That's the real world. You can play around with these things so well.
It makes me curious to see how the Russos and the writers handle the new characters they get to play with in Civil War. Because, I mean, some of them, Scarlet Witch, Vision, I mean, they're not necessarily grounded in the fact that they're kind of sci-fi characters, right?
Yeah.
But I think what they're doing, and what I've seen from the promos, is that they're showing everybody the humanity of each character, and I think that's how they're going to ground the mystical characters. That's just my theory.
Like, I know we've talked about it before, but I'm avoiding all clips, all footage, anything. I'm not watching a single footage, a minute of anything that isn't the trailer. And I did see a picture the other day where they had Vision in the jumper, and that made me smile. And it's like, yeah, like it's just, that's what it is. It's just the guy is wearing a jumper, and that's cool. Is it like that? I think it's little things like that ground it in a reality that these are fantastical people that are in our world doing normal things, that Captain America's having to account to his boss, and yeah, it's played for normal. Like, it's fantastical, but at the same time, it's real. It's not just thrown out there for everyone to do.
Well, gentlemen, I hate to do this to you. I know we're only 45 minutes in and we have an hour and a half left, but life has gotten in the way. I gotta go. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
I feel so unprofessional right now, but something happened and I gotta leave right now. So please finish without me. Have fun, and guys, listeners, I'm sorry, but I leave you in very good hands. Matt and Lee, I can't think of two other better people to talk about Captain America. So again, I apologize to everyone, but have a great time, and I can't wait to listen to the rest of it. I'm sorry, guys.
No worries at all. We'll be in touch.
See ya.
Like, here we go. This is like, he's picked a bad moment for life to come in the way that this action scene here in the elevator is fantastic. Like, I just love this action scene here. Like, I remember reading an interview with the Russo brothers where they talked about how they were inspired by the Raid, and you see it really here, this close combat scene, and it's just so badass. It's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Like there's so many like best of moments in the MCU for me in this movie, that the action scenes, everything, like it. I suppose it helps that Captain America is just a man. Like, you take off this suit, what are you? Like, this is what Captain America is. He doesn't have the iron suit. He doesn't have the god powers. It's a story of human beings. Him and Natasha are humans, and it's all really fascinating.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just love the uncomfortableness of just like every time the elevator stops, it's like, bing! Someone comes in, someone's just getting that sweat, and you just feel that tension. Like, you can imagine being Captain America, you're almost feeling that suffocation in this tight space, and here's some more, like, the biggest guys ever have just all must have gone for lunch at the same time.
I don't know if they showed you this, but when I went to go see the movie that came out before this was Thor 2.
Yeah.
When I went to go see Thor 2, I saw it in like the 3D IMAX, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They actually showed us this scene.
Oh, really?
Yes. As part of the Winter Soldier preview.
See, I didn't get that.
Oh, that's too bad, because like seeing that scene hyped me up.
Oh yeah, like I was fine without it, and it's just like I really love this hand-to-hand combat stuff. It's just so good that it's it's like a James Bond movie here when you see like the technology that are clasping his hands, and it really is just so badass.
Yeah.
And like you feel every punch, and you feel that like legs are breaking, bones are crunching. Like, that's what I want to see in like these sorts of action, things. It's not just superhero. It's definitely it's badass. It's taking it to another level. It's doing in a way what Nolan did to Batman. It's like, okay, we've had some fun. Now we're gonna get some really serious, and it embraces it so well. Like, you wouldn't expect that these guys who had a history of comedy did this action movie, and they did it so well.
No.
So I'm pretty sure you're famously known for seeing this, 7 times at the cinema? Is that right, Matt?
Something like that, yeah. I kept all the ticket stubs.
Oh yeah, I treasure all mine. I've got mine in a little little binder. So I think I saw it like 5 times, maybe. I've seen it a few times since. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this again on the big screen in a few weeks.
I mean, it was one of those situations where we talked about this a few weeks ago on the filibuster.
Yeah.
When one of those movies comes out that is just so good that you have those downtimes in your day. Like, I'm not doing anything. I think I'll just go see it again.
Yeah.
That was one of these movies for me.
Yeah, and like there's so much. It is just such an enjoyable movie that there's like aspects that you can watch again and get repeated viewings out of, but it's an enjoyable watch. It's not like, I know when I've seen movies, I feel like, I want to see it a second time, just to maybe get a better feel for it. With this, it was like, I want to go see this again because it's so much fun. And because I got to see it, earlier than my friends, that my expectations were that it was going to be a good movie. But I remember it coming out, and I saw it on on Facebook. You get the On This Day app, where it talks about, so what do you think of these things? And I put like, oh my god, this is without a doubt the best MCU movie so far. It is so good. And
you were hyping me up for a whole week.
Oh yeah, like I don't think anyone expected it to be as good as it was. I think people thought it would be good, fine, but no, it's without a doubt, and it still is the best.
Because when I saw the trailers for this, like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was me being biased. I don't know if it was intuition, but watching the trailers for this, I was like, this feels different.
Yeah.
I don't know how it feels different, but this feels different in a good way.
I mean, there's so much of this movie that is kept under wraps that when you watch the trailer, you don't really expect it to be a political thriller, as it were. You expect it to mostly be about the Winter Soldier, and he is relatively underplayed in the movie, and that's not a bad thing. But
No.
it's more focused on the actual enemy is S.H.I.E.L.D., enemies within, and that's really more interesting than just one bad guy, and it keeps building everything up. That I think the less we see of the Winter Soldier in this movie, the better.
Well, yeah, and they're gonna get to, obviously this is not a spoiler because you've seen this in the previously. They're obviously gonna get to play with him a lot more in Civil War.
For sure, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that all works, and obviously he seems to be a key component in the movie for everything kind of falling apart for the team, coming together, motivation. Like, there's so many elements that I'm really excited to see more of Sebastian Stan in this movie as Bucky Barnes more than the Winter Soldier threat that we see in this movie.
That's what I'm curious. Is he going to be more Bucky Barnes, or is the Winter Soldier still there? I think, we've seen some of those promos where the Winter Soldier's still there. He almost shoots Tony Stark in the face.
Definitely. Like, I don't think anyone expected Scarlett Johansson to have as big a role as she had in this movie as well, and she's just so awesome, and like all her little beats in that she's got, and like I mean, the one thing I always look at when this thing is like her straight hair. I always preferred it as it was when it was curlier in the Avengers, but I can cope with that.
I don't know. I kind of like her long hair in this.
Yeah,
I kind of like. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like her hairstyle in Civil War. What we've seen of it.
Yeah, that looks really cool. Like I think there's such a good duo, and I think it's like, see if this was like any other time, or if it didn't have enough confidence, that this would be played more romantic, that it would be a sort of love plot between these two.
Oh, thank God they didn't do that.
No,
but
like, it's buddies, and like line that we all have friends that we work with in our workplace that we have a wee flirt with, a joke around with, and that's really awesome. But like, this is what makes it so cool, is just that they're just male and female that kind of click together, have a bit of fun together, flirt, have some battle together. That's cool enough. Like, I think when you got this, where it really was a good buddy relationship.
I think what helps too is that Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson had been in movies together even before they were cast as Captain America and Black Widow.
Yeah.
So the fact that the actors know each other and are good friends,
definitely,
that comes off on screen.
For sure. And I think that, like, it annoys me when you see how brilliant their relationship is in this movie as co-workers, and then it feels so natural, it feels really good, and then it jars with what we see in Age of Ultron, where we see the Hulk relationship with Black Widow, and I can't speak for you, but it just never feels right. It feels forced, whereas this feels natural, and it really clashes between these two portrayals of the character.
I didn't hate Black Widow in Age of Ultron like some people did. But
I didn't hate her in it. It's just I didn't like that relationship.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, wow, I thought we were going in a different direction. I just think that, without any offense to Joss Whedon, because I really do think he did a good job with her in the first movie, the first Avengers movie. I think the Russos just know more what makes Natasha click.
Yeah.
And everything I've seen from the promos for Civil War tells me that she's back to her Winter Soldier persona, which I'm good with.
Like, this is something I was touched upon earlier. Here we are in, like, the Apple shop. And, like, it's the issue I have with, say, the Batman v Superman, the Zack Snyder ethos, that to be relatable and in the real world, you need to be dark and gritty and, like,
hyper realistic,
and all that sort of stuff. With this is, like, they're just in an Apple shop. Like, that's the sort of shop we probably all pop into ourselves and do our own things in, like.
I think it's ironic, too, that you brought that up, since in this scene, Chris Evans looks more Clark Kent than Clark Kent did in Batman v Superman.
Sure. And it's relatable because it's a shop that we all go to. It's technology we all use. And, like, we all have that encounter with the nerdy genius guy, like, excuse me, can I help you with something? And, like, no, I'm quite fine. Like, when you're maybe just, like, Facebooking or something in the Apple shop, or charging your phone. That's real world and relatable. It's not just about, being gritty.
What I like about this too is that it just shows, because she tells him earlier, "You're such a bad liar."
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't do the spy thing very well. It's not for him.
There's a really good podcast where it interviews this guy who plays the genius in the Apple Bar. It's a podcast by Matt Gorley, who's probably well known to a lot of the geeks. It's called "I Was There Too," where he interviews people that had like small roles in movies and all these things.
Did he say anything cool about this scene? Or?
I cannot remember much of it for the life of me, but it's like a good 30 minutes. I'll send you a link. And he talks about what it was like shooting with this, and he knew the Russo brothers, and he got a call up. They were like, "We think you'd be really good for this role." So yeah, he got the call up, and he talked about how they shot it at night when the mall had closed, and just kind of spoke through the process. And it's a really good insight just to one little guy that. And I think we all remember that scene when we come out of Winter Soldier each time, going, "God, how funny was that scene in the Apple Store?" That's realistic. Like that's our superheroes playing about in our world. It's really cool.
And it shows that you can have humor in these films. It doesn't hurt the story. And by the way, I remember this shot coming out before the movie, and people were worried that there was going to be a Black Widow Captain America romance, but there was a promo shot of them kissing right there.
Yeah. And it does. Public displays of affection make people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know, but people like assumed the wrong thing, and I just love how it ended up playing out in the movie. It's like they're not in love; they needed to cover.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was meaning. Like people do feel uncomfortable. They see someone kissing. That I saw it today. I was out for a run, and I was at the traffic lights, and there was people like across the street just like making out, and I would just like looked away, and I was just kind of rolling my eyes as they were doing it and everything like that. And it's just a little smart move, and it's nothing where you think, ooh, there's a real spark in that kiss. It's just like it's clearly just a bit of tactics. We see it all the time in James Bond or something like that, just like a kiss distraction. Simple as that. Like I just find it so fascinating that. Like, I really love that about the Captain America movies, is that even though it's Captain America, like, he is the lead undoubtedly, that they're such good ensemble cast movies. They really balance it so well with, we obviously have it in the first one with Peggy,
Right.
And then the second one we've got it with Scarlett Johansson and with the Falcon.
I know you don't want to hear anything, but I hear that they managed to do the same thing in Civil War.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that. I've got such confidence in the Russo brothers to do ensembles. When I think of Arrested Development, one of their big shows, like that's an ensemble cast with 6 or 7, at least big characters in these TV shows. And then you watch a 22-minute episode and everyone gets their time, their share, they get a chance to be the character. And that's why I'm confident in them as directors. And while I was a bit surprised at first when they were announced, it didn't seem to fit with what I expected from a director of a Captain America movie, it was still such an awesome choice. Like it's so hard to find directors these days that get ensembles and do it really well, that make sure everyone is getting their fair share. I think someone like Wes Anderson does it well. We spoke when we did our Star Trek filibuster where Justin Lin has done it really well in The Fast and the Furious. It's not just a simple thing of, just put all the characters in and give them all a scene. That's fine, but you need to be able to blend it all together really well.
No, and what I've heard too is that, like I said, I'm being very conscious with your wishes, but I hear that everyone in Civil War has an arc, no matter how big or how small. Everyone is not the same as they were coming into it, and that's impressive. And
that's what I'm expecting as well. I've got such high hopes for this. I mean, I don't think our listeners will know, but we spoke a few weeks ago where we were talking about marathons, and I now hear that you're going to be doing the same marathon as I'm going to be doing a week later.
We talked about this on the filibuster.
Yeah.
Like there is a Captain America marathon happening when Civil War releases in the U.S. the day before, and I was debating on whether or not to do it. And then when the reviews came out or started coming out and they were so good, I was like, I'm never going to get this chance again. It's got to be now or never. So I sprung for it.
Oh yeah, like it's so much fun that you'll get, like it's always so enjoyable to get to see these movies again. That I'm excited to watch the first Avenger again on the big screen, and Winter Soldier always kills it, in a cinema experience. It's part of the fun as well that, you were obviously talking earlier that you're doing a bit of a marathon at home as well. So it's the best way to do it. Like, it builds up the hype. You're surrounded by fans that are just as excited, and that's the joy of it.
Now, are you just getting the Cap movies? Because we're getting the Cap movies with the Avengers, the two Avengers sprinkled in between.
We had two options. We had the Cap movies, where you would do a Captain America trilogy, or you would do the Cap movies and the Avengers movies. So I'm the same as you. First Avenger,
Avengers
Assemble, Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, and then at midnight we go straight into Civil War.
See, I kind of think that's best. Because
I think so too.
Even if you don't like Age of Ultron, it's going to play a big part in where Civil War ends up going. And I really want to see all the character development that they've done for Cap in one sitting. Yeah. So I want all of it.
And that's why those things, like, it's not a film I particularly think is really good. I think there's some really good moments in it, but overall I think it's quite a frustrating movie. But like, that's part of doing the marathon sometimes, that you have to go through some of these movies you perhaps didn't think were so great to tie it all together. And when you watch it as a marathon, you don't think of it necessarily as 4 or 5 different movies. You kind of think of it more as one big experience, that it's like a different chapter. Okay, right, a wee break, and then we're straight into the other one, especially where you've got such a through line with the character of Captain America.
And I bet you, like, if Civil War is good, I mean, really good, and it continues the threads from these previous movies, you may not end up loving Age of Ultron, but if Civil War is good, the best thing that you could say was, well, it was worth having Age of Ultron to get here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And like, we see it with like things like this where people maybe had, and people were quite vocal with their issues they had with Age of Ultron, and I do believe that Marvel hear these and take these on board. And we saw it recently with Batman v Superman. People complained about the end of Man of Steel, so they incorporated that into the movie. And like, whether it worked or not, like, people still listen. And I think nowadays with the internet, fan feedback, that any errors that there were perhaps of being a bit too bloated in the Age of Ultron, I think they've taken that into Civil War and really taken that to heart, and hopefully improved the movie as a result. That it's not just like, oh well, that was maybe not so successful, but we'll keep going. I think Marvel learn and continue to grow.
Now, when this scene played in the theater, when you were watching Winter Soldier for the first time, we're getting to the Zola scene in the basement. This was the one scene where I read in people's reviews who really loved the movie. This is the one scene where they kind of felt maybe it was going too far into comic book territory, but they had done such a good job of investing me in the story so far that I was willing to make a leap of faith for them. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, I had no issue with this scene at all and stuff. I really enjoyed Zola as a character, and I'm a big fan of the actor himself. So it was a nice little bonus, and yeah, it is quite comic booky, but it's a comic book movie. Yeah, like, this is part of what it's all about. We get things like this, and it's played seriously. It's quite a funky shot scene with the old layout. Yeah, like, I can take things on board like this if it doesn't clash with the sense of the movie, and it makes it like like if we watched this movie in the 70s, as it kind of ties in a lot with the sort of these thrillers, political thrillers. This would have been some guy in a bunker, just in the corner smoking a pipe. Okay.
Well, this is the if we keep comparing it to All the President's Men, mm-hmm. I mean, this is the deep throat scene.
Correct. That's exactly it. Like, so it makes sense that if this was any other era, it would have just been a guy in a basement. This would have been a guy shrouded in mystery. So, yeah, big issue. Not really at all for me. It ties in. It shows the thread between all these movies. And I don't think anyone, when they were watching this movie, or even up until this point, was thinking, my God, Hydra are behind it all. But when you watch this, it really sells it so well that Hydra really have been behind it all. And if this scene didn't work, then the whole final act in the movie, where it's Hydra's infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., would have just fallen flat on its face. It needed to do this, and it did it really, really well.
Not only did it do it well, but it made me... Like, when you go back and watch the movies that happened before this, like, you watch all the S.H.I.E.L.D. scenes and you see it in a whole new light, like, knowing that somewhere behind everything, Hydra's doing something.
Yeah. Did you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Winter Soldier came out? Like, I started watching the beginning of Agents of Shield, and I never really kind of was big into it. But I did watch. I skipped ahead and watched the post Winter Soldier episodes, and yeah, it seems to go in quite well. Yeah, it's a bit budgety, but yeah, I thought it was actually quite good. Yeah, like it's not a show that I've ever really got into much, to be honest, Matt. I've watched episodes here and there, and it's just such a commitment to watch a 22 episode season these days.
And I can't say that I'm like as huge into it as I am the movies, but I watch it as like a stopgap in between films,
like a companion piece as well. Yeah, like I think like I've read a few times that like the people involved in Agents of Shield did not know this was coming, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you're Agents of No Shield" or something like that anymore. And I think it's really good. I just think Agents of Shield's a bit caught maybe in the 90s of that pattern of maybe being a 90s style setup with the 26 episode season, when maybe it would be better as a mini series like perhaps the Agent Carter was. And was that a show you ever watched much of, Agent Carter?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy Agent Carter.
Yeah, I've watched the first season. I've not started the second season yet. So now that Roger's groaning. It's probably the subtitle you probably love most in this movie, Matt.
No, well, mine says grunting and panting.
Oh,
and
of course. Oh, there's panting. Yeah, like you can really just see everything's just kind of ratcheting up now in this movie, and we're starting to kind of push into the, working towards the big reveal.
Just looking at this, we were talking earlier about Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow in this movie compared to the other ones. Mm-hmm. I really do feel like this is the first movie where she's vulnerable. You never get the sense that, as much as I liked her in the first Avengers movie, she was never in a truly vulnerable position, except for maybe when she was running away from the Hulk. Mm-hmm. But she always seemed to have the upper hand on everybody. Here, she doesn't.
And I think it's as well that we saw the famous line, obviously, in Avengers Assemble, where we see, oh yeah, that I've got a lot of red in my ledger. And that working for S.H.I.E.L.D. is a way of compensating that out. And when you find out that you've been working for the bad guys all along, how does that sit with you? Like, how does that kind of affect your mentality?
Well, we have that scene coming up right now.
Oh yeah, like this is brilliant, seeing the Winter Soldier and Robert Redford together in that room. It's just,
see this. These scenes, well, really this movie, but like something like this scene in particular, when people start criticizing the Marvel films as being too much for kids or too kid friendly or too clippy or too jokey,
too much fun,
like as if that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me this scene is not. It's certainly not kid friendly.
No, for sure. Like I was quite surprised by it when I watched the first time. I didn't see that coming, really. It's not necessarily with the Marvel ethos that we've come to know. It is a surprising twist.
See, I just love the fact that Redford in this scene just murders somebody in cold blood.
Yeah, and like I think people, and it's that moment like, oh, for God's sake, I suppose I've got to, and it's just, yeah, like we've seen that if this was like it ties in with that political thriller vibe of, it's just natural sometimes for these people like to, take out someone. We're not maybe necessarily used to that kind of cold blood in these movies.
No.
Like it's just this idea that they're now becoming the trio with Sam and Natasha and Steve. I just love this holy trinity that they seem to be developing between them. And it'll be interesting to see them torn apart in Civil War.
Civil War. Now, obviously, this is the scene I like because look at this guy. He's built as.
I know he is. He is such a good-looking guy.
But it's shocking to me how and I know it's not CGI.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's just. That's what running and doing your squats and eating well gets for you, so there we go. That's how you get your beach bod. Or running around Washington, D.C. for days and days on end. that's like, this is what we've touched upon here, where you see Natasha as that she's traded in the KGB for Shield, and what's the difference really? She really has made a mistake in trusting, perhaps for the first time, the people she's working with, and that's obviously going to be a clash for her and Steve as well. That, like, the company that the woman he loved built.
Now I'm curious to see, because I don't know how it's going to play in Civil War, but when I watched this scene, and when I heard that, Civil War was happening, I just assumed that Natasha was going to be on Steve's side.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Because, obviously, it's you think about it, she talks about how she worked for the KGB and she ended up feeling used, and then she went to work for Hydra to wipe the red off of her ledger, and as it were, and but she ended up just working for Hydra. So I thought that she'd be against any sort of like government interference, but no, she's on Tony's side. So I want to see why that is and how that plays out.
And I think it will be a genuinely done decision and stuff. Like, I like that perhaps that they're not going to be working on the same line, and yeah, I'm very curious to see how that's going to come along together.
But I do like the fact that in the trailer, even though she's on the other side, like, you get the sense that she still really cares about Steve.
Yeah.
To the point where she's calling him and saying, please don't make us do this against you.
And that's when we think of like the American Civil War, like that was like families and brothers torn apart, that they didn't want to be fighting, but they picked a side, that this was what they believed in, and they really didn't want to be having to go to war with their family, but sometimes you've got to go with your principles, and you really want to be able to be the one to convince your friend that, hey, I'm on the side of the angels here, come with me, but that's not necessarily realistic.
Right. What I like about it too is that, we talked about this. We know that Daniel Bruhl is in the new film.
Oh yeah, he's one of my man crushes.
But even so, I hope it's a small role, not because I don't like Daniel Bruhl, but I like the idea of there really kind of is no villain in this film. It's heroes fighting heroes, and for as much as people want to say Marvel has a villain problem, when it's their two heroes fighting against each other and we love them all, I think that's just so much more interesting than any sort of villain conflict could offer. You know what I mean?
Like, here we go. This is obviously Gary Shandling now on the screen, and rest in peace recently.
R.I.P. Gary Shandling, but
I always loved when he popped up in this film. I didn't expect him to be, to pop up here and stuff. It's such a surprise, and this is where the meme was born.
I know. I was gonna say, rest in peace, Gary Shandling, but congrats on making a huge internet meme right before you went.
What was some of your favorite Hail Hydra memes?
Oh, I don't remember, but I just remember them coming up all over the place.
Oh yeah,
it was so funny.
It's just things like that where like that's when the internet's at its best, when it just explodes. And like, I love this moment where he's getting the phone call and he thinks it's from his boss, but oh no, things are starting to go a bit wrong here. And that's what I like about this movie more than than any other real Marvel. It's like these little players, like, these people just popped up here and there. Gary Shandling, and his name escapes me here. He's just popping up for a little scene here and there, and it makes the world realistic.
This guy, the Shield / Hydra agent, I in watching that, he was in Thor.
Yeah,
I saw him in the first Thor
one.
movie.
Yeah, that's the one. And it just brings people in, and it fleshes out the world. It doesn't have to be having Captain America appear in all these different movies or all the big characters. That the world's fleshed out by these smaller characters and smaller people, and giving them roles and positions in the movie that are unexpected. And that's what I love, is like that intricacies, that attention to detail.
I love this moment. Like, it's not your style to kill somebody.
Yeah,
but it's hers.
You can almost imagine someone saying that to Batman, like, you wouldn't kill me, would you? And then it goes, but I don't have to save you. But I just love her just kicking her off, and it's just so. Oh, so what about that girl from accounting? It's so cool, and it's a good way to introduce the Falcon as well. Like, I always wondered how they were going to introduce him in the movie. I was like, oh, so I wonder how they're gonna make the Falcon fit in with the MCU. But no, I think it's Like this second act, it's so strong and
No,
like,
the I love the villain plot in this. The fact that the helicarriers and the program is designed to take out anybody who Hydra knows as a threat or perceives as a threat.
And we mentioned Stephen Strange there. We'll be seeing him. Was it November time?
November.
So, what did you make of the trailer this week, Matt?
I really enjoyed it, and the fact that we were talking earlier about how people accuse Marvel of being too similar in all their films. You cannot say that about this film.
No, it looks very trippy. I'm on record. I'm a total Cumber bitch. I worship him. That I actually saw him in London, performing on the last day of his play. He was doing Hamlet. And then, like, a few days later, he was starting the shooting of Stephen Strange. And I was just sitting there in the crowd. He was only, like, mere meters away from me thinking, oh, man, I'm going to see him in, like, a few months on the big screen again in the IMAX. And I was just sitting there watching him, and he's just such a brilliant actor, Cumberbatch. So I'm really excited to see him join the MCU. And here we go. We've got another amazing action scene coming up here. This
highway scene.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. And it's like, you know, we're so used to some of these superhero movies, and around the time I think it was like Amazing Spider-Man 2 and all these different things. It's all just like, unless I'm just like pulled out of the car, like a lot of the action scenes seem to involve big blue things pointing up to the sky or anything like this. Like the action in this movie is a lot of hand to hand, a lot of, you know, real like action stuff, like Michael Mann style Heat. You can really see the influences in this movie. And that little theme again for the Winter Soldier, it's so good.
Yeah.
And with movies like this, that you feel every punch, you feel all the action, you know, you can really feel him really hammering into these superheroes. Like when we're watching them fight robots, whether it's robots in Ultron or aliens in Avengers, that's all well and good, but you don't really buy into it as much. But when it's a human threat, like that's more interesting to me, especially in, you know, all forms of action movies. When it's man to man, that's really fascinating as a movie.
And I hate to hype you up or get your expectations too highly.
Oh, my expectations are high as for Civil War.
But what I've heard, the reviews that have come out so far, that scene at the airport of them fighting, I heard that is quite possibly the greatest action scene in a comic book movie.
I saw something like that pop up the other day, and I'm really excited I cannot wait for this movie, and I know how much you're gonna hate me, Matt, for seeing it well before you.
I simultaneously hate you and I'm happy for you.
What you have to do is you have to get some flights over to the UK and all that sort of stuff. And
I almost wish I could.
I know. It used to be many years ago when it used to be such a huge delay between the UK and America getting movies, that when Phantom Menace came out, I think it was like a good few months before the UK were going to get it. So what you would get would be people actually going over to America just to see Phantom Menace early, that they would go to New York, the East Coast, and they would go see Phantom Menace and then come home. So it's certainly changed days with the smaller release schedules.
I just think it's fun. The only thing I have against it is I just think it's hilarious that the movie's called Captain America, and America's one of the last countries to get it.
Oh yeah, like I don't know what the whole reasoning behind it is, the staggered release. Like you really think simultaneous things are best, because especially these days if you release it simultaneously and it does huge box office. Oh, it's the global box office total and stuff. It, you know, considering Disney did it with Star Wars, a global release, really. Obviously, I think there's a day between us and America. Like, I don't get it.
The only thing that I find a little, the downside of having the reviews come out this early, which I'm all for, because it means that it's going to be good.
Yeah.
But the only downside is I now have to dodge spoilers for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think the spoiler thing should be pretty easy until it starts opening up to the general public. That's when people start posting up.
No, but you don't. The thing is that it had screenings here in the U.S. on Thursday for fans.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, that's the problem. When like the fans start to see it, that's when it easily becomes a spoiler zone. Like, all it takes is one person to put out a tweet that says, "Hey, you won't believe what happens. You know, Steve Rogers dies, or the Falcon actually is a member of Hydra." You know, any number of things. Like, that's what's so hard to avoid. And you know, I remembered recently with 10 Cloverfield Lane, there was a week between us getting it in the UK, and with a movie that was so kind of designed around not being spoiler heavy, I was like, oh, come on, like, this is what I really want, is not to hear a single thing. And it was so hard not to avoid like spoilers, and it causes a bit of stress because you want to go in as pure as possible. Look how badass the Winter Soldier looks here, just strutting down with his gun. He almost reminds me of like an IRA soldier here.
Yeah.
From the 90s and the 80s.
Well, I mean, not even that. He reminds me of a Terminator.
Yeah.
He's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I never really thought of it like that. He's burdened with a glorious intent. And it's just like, he's so casual at doing it. He doesn't break a sweat, like shooting and bombs and bullets and all these sorts of things. He clearly knows what he's doing.
Well, what I like about this too is that Black Widow actually manages to hold her own for a bit here.
Yeah, and you can see the stress and panic that she's got when she's facing him, and that buys into the threat as well. When you've got like,
well, because she said in the movie earlier, she's run into him before.
Oh yeah, and like when you say like Ultron, for example, he's kind of cracking some jokes and stuff, so he's not really intimidating. But when you've got here, say, the Winter Soldier, who's really quite sinister and a
right
threat,
here,
yeah, like you see the panic when you've got a character that we're totally on board with. She's
like,
the best
I love
at
this.
ever doing it. Yeah,
she actually looks afraid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's so rare in a superhero movie. When have we ever seen a superhero really afraid?
Now, this hand-to-hand combat is quite possibly the best part of this whole movie.
Yeah. It's
like, this is my favorite hand-to-hand combat of this whole film.
Yeah. It's so hard not to watch things like this where it's just like crack open a beer and go, right, podcasters, we'll be back in 5 minutes, just go entertain yourself, sort of thing. It's I when I've listened to audio commentaries in the past, whether it's sometimes fan,
the scene is so I know people just go silent.
Yeah,
right?
like it's you can tell it's a good moment when everyone's like, yeah, I'll be 2 seconds,
But everything's going so fast, and
oh yeah. And it's shot so well, like, you know, it holds on their faces, and you can see that strong attention to detail. Like, they know that if they drop focus for a second, that's them dead. Like, you can't separate the two of them. It's, you know, it's a draw really on paper between their skills.
The thing that I like too is that compared to something like Avengers 1 or even especially Age of Ultron, this fight never feels one-sided.
No.
Like.
And it would be so boring if it was. Like, we know our superheroes are great, they're the best, but hey, I want to see them really struggle. I want to see them, you know, sweat for their thing, not just, you know, stroll through a bunch of armies and just smash them off as if they're butter.
Question for you, because I knew who the Winter Soldier was going in,
mm-hmm.
but when I saw this in a theater, whenever we got to this unmasking, I always had people gasp in the theater. Did you have anyone like that in yours?
Yeah, I think there was quite a few gasps, but it was something I knew, obviously.
Well, yeah, but like that's
that's
why I love seeing it with the general audience, because I was always with people who had no idea that he was the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, when you like go to the midnight showings and the marathons, like these fans know all these things going in, but then that's why I like going the next day with the normal people. Yeah, when you go mix up with the families and the people that are like, oh yeah, I'll go see it this weekend. Yeah, I'll go see it. Like, that's when you get like a reaction to seeing how good the film is, if it's great or bad and stuff like that. Like, we all know the fans will kind of probably be a bit of an echo chamber for each other, but that's when you get a real indication if the film's got legs. What do you think of Crossbones in this movie?
Oh, I love him.
Yeah,
I love him.
I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of him, and
I don't think he'll be in it that much, but we'll obviously get to see
either.
more of him.
Yeah.
The look on his face, though, on Cap's face, is priceless.
Yeah, and he's just another one of these characters, Crossbones, that's just like another human role involved in this big world. That it's a world of superheroes, but you know, the humans have got to deal with some of the fallout from all these things that have been going on as well. Whether it's, you know, someone at top of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whether it's just one of the military officers. Like I've seen this a couple of times. Obviously, I saw it quite a few times at the cinema, and it's just it's probably the most rewatchable. Probably after Guardians of the Galaxy, the most rewatchable movie from the MCU. It's obviously my favorite, but I really do think overall it is definitely one of the best. And this reveal,
even
Maria Hill.
they even managed to give Maria Hill a good moment.
Oh yeah. Like, everyone has a moment where you can come out of the thing, whether your favourite character is Maria Hill, or the Falcon, or, Gary Shandling.
I mean, but you
everyone's
look
got
at
a cool moment.
But you look at her previous appearance, and essentially in Avengers, she's kind of just Uhura.
Yeah.
In the sense that she's answering the phone and all that other sort of stuff. Here, I mean, they made everybody dynamic.
Yeah. I always think when, like, you see this here now, they've obviously got the machine that burns the hole in the thing, and it's kind of a quite a cool James Bond kind of concept.
Again, it's comic booky, but
yeah.
The thing is that if the story is good and what you're telling invests you in the characters, then I think your audience is willing to make bigger leaps of logic because they're having a good time.
Yeah, like I think when we see movies like this, I always think
Did you see that, by the way, the guy that says "Bring her here"? That's Joe Russo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right there in the back.
Yeah. You can't resist giving yourself a wee cameo here and there, eh?
I never noticed that, but then I've been seeing more what Joe Russo looks like in interviews, so now I notice him.
I always think of it as like quite cool when Christopher Nolan's off to shoot a movie. He shows like a couple of different movies before they start filming, just to give you an idea of like the crew. Like, oh, this is a sort of similar. Some of the themes were inspired by. Famously, they showed The Heat before Dark Knight, and different things. They showed like a wee little marathon. They did 2001 before Interstellar. I always wonder if they maybe did something here similar with Winter Soldier, whether they got the whole cast and crew together and showed something like Heat, a James Bond movie, and just went, or something like Casino Royale, because you see a lot of that in the hand-to-hand violence, the kind of parkour parts as well. And you wonder how much of it, they would go, right, we're going to just show you some movies, this is our influences.
The Russos have said for Civil War their influences are Heat and Seven, which I'm really excited to see.
See, when you just mentioned Seven there, like, I can buy that, but I wonder what they'll be doing with like I can't see that from the trailers, and that's got me excited. Like, no,
I'm not saying it'll be similar.
Oh yeah, but I'll have that vibe, and that's got me curious.
I specifically heard that film mentioned in reference to Civil War by the Russos.
That's so cool.
But here, now that we saw him in the scene there, Lee, have you ever heard the Russos give an interview?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've watched them on Arrested Development documentaries, and quite recently I saw them, like a little interview with them pop up on the IMAX screen where they're saying, here's a trailer for Civil War, and it's I've seen them a few times.
No, but if you see them talk about these films, like, again, I don't want to turn this into a bashing fest, but whenever you read an interview from someone like Zack Snyder, you have to work double hard to figure out what the hell he's saying. Yeah, because even in print, it sounds like nonsense.
I think we see it with, we saw it with fellow Nerd Party member John mentioned one time that with Zack Snyder, he's always seems to be on the defense. With the Russos, there's a quiet confidence that it's almost like when you always think back to university or school. And you would get someone that would come up on the front of the class to make their presentation. And when they would just like talk at you, there would be like all this information kind of coming at you. You'd be like, that person's really maybe not putting the effort. They maybe don't feel comfortable, anything like that.
Well, not just that. I mean, when I even see printed interviews with Snyder, like the sentences that he says, it's almost like, it's almost Sarah Palin-esque in the sense that I look at it and I'm like, what is he saying? Like, I don't even get it. And then when I watch the Russos talk, you just, not only do you see the confidence, but you see that they're in control.
Yeah, and like that's like it's that thing that you would imagine them in front of the class and went, okay, this is our movie here, Winter Soldier. These are the clear themes that we're really interested in. We've shown, here's our working. This is what we really think. This is what inspired us. This is it. And like they deliver it confidently, and they almost just know that their role is in this film, and then they just let it go off and breathe and all that. And like that's a confidence. Like they're not like when you think of how great Winter Soldier is and hopefully Civil War, you're thinking, right, these are great movies. You know, people aren't going to be having the same conversations they've been having about maybe people like Zack Snyder, where they're like, oh, but such and such, where like they almost make themselves part of the movie. The Russos know what their job is. They've confidently do it, and then just let it go out there and breathe as a movie.
It almost makes me curious to see what they're going to do in the future. Because obviously we know they're tied to Infinity War, so they're going to finish out there.
Yeah.
But like, I want to see doors open for them. You know what I mean? I would like to see them tackle, not only other franchises, but maybe give them an original action movie of their own and see what they can do with it. Because I really think that they're capable.
I think I'd love to see them just do like an ensemble comedy or something along those lines where, just I'd watch anything the Russo brothers do. After on Arrested Development alone, they're bought into me for life. So yeah, like, what was your thoughts when you first saw like Nick Fury back alive again? Were you like, oh, that kind of thing that people no one really dies in the Marvel universe is happening again, or were you happy to see him?
I was happy to see him. I mean, I get why people might have been frustrated at first, but it's Samuel L. Mother effing Jackson. I mean, like, it's just, I'm never not happy to see him.
Mm-hmm. And I love seeing now that Captain America's the one taking charge, and like, Nick Fury's been the one leading the Avengers really from the end of Iron Man, and Captain America's like, no, it's all got to go. I'm the one in charge now. He's the captain.
What I think is going to be so cool is that, this film was all about tearing S.H.I.E.L.D. apart.
Yeah.
And I want to see them, as painful as it might be, I can't wait to see them tear the Avengers apart.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how that happens, and oh boy, howdy, I can't wait. It's just like, people, like, you look at these scenes here, just like, there's so much heart in this character, and like, I was saying, like, someone the other day, I put that if the reviews are true about Civil War, could we be looking at a rare, perfect trilogy that First Avenger, great movie, this outstanding movie, if Civil War comes even close to this, so then we've got it joining things like the Dark Knight trilogy and Toy Story and the perfect
I would
trilogy
love that.
and I'd love that too. And someone went, yeah, but Captain America is boring. And I was like, no, he really isn't. He's the Boy Scout, and it is such a hard job to do a movie like this well. Like, you can do it cheesy, like the kind of earnest Boy Scout, but like a lot of that internal toil that we see a lot with Steve Rogers in this movie is, making it work and dealing with all the kind of issues he's got in the movie.
I hate to keep harping on this, Lee, but this right here, this portrayal, this is how you do Superman in the modern day.
100%. Like, that's not Superman in those movies. Like, it's not. Like, we touched on it earlier where you saw a little kid being Captain America in the movie. No one wants to be that Superman in that movie. Like, there's nothing wrong with being an American Boy Scout. Like, you can do it. Oh, so what is it he says here? Sometimes you need a little bit of red, white, and blue.
Sometimes you need a uniform. Yeah. I love the Stanley cameo, by the way.
It's a cracking. What's your favorite Stan Lee cameo in any of the Marvel movies?
Well, I know yours is now Deadpool, but this was my favorite before then.
Yeah. Here's a wee reference for some Trekkie fans. Do you recognize that face that's next to Captain America on the drawing board there? That's Neil McDonough.
No, McDonough. Yeah,
that's the one who was Lieutenant Hawk.
Lieutenant Hawk.
So whenever I see him in the Captain America movies, I always think, oh, that's Lieutenant Hawk.
But
I must say, I don't know what you're watching, but I'm watching the Blu-ray here, and when I watched it in the IMAX, I didn't think the helicarriers looked particularly good in the CGI when it was downstairs, when you had people all moving around, when it was clearly kind of a CGI environment. Whereas on the Blu-ray, it's an excellent print.
The Russos even gave what's her name? Freaking Jenny Agutter.
Who's Jenny Agutter? Is she a kind of big American person? She's never been really anyone that I've ever related to.
She's British. I would think that you would have heard of her. But no, she's the woman on the World Security Council.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look her up.
She was on Logan's Run. I think that's what her big claim to fame is.
Oh yeah, let's have a look.
She was an American Werewolf in London. I know that.
Ah, yeah. And like, I just really like how it's just like this movie is 90 minutes in, home stretch now, and it really is doing it so well. Like the idea that this movie has one clear plot focus and plays with a bunch of different themes, and it does it in just over 2 hours.
Now it's this scene right here. I hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but it's this scene right here in this speech that Captain America gives that when I saw this, I was like, that's it. Captain America's my favorite Avenger.
Yeah, and I like here that Crossbones, that's him up and running and everything like that. And like, I love this, that they're not battling superhero characters and all that sort of stuff. Like, they're battling for the heart and soul of an organization. Like we see that a lot in American politics now, that people are battling for the heart and soul of a country and all that sort of stuff. And that's as gripping as anything else. That this Captain America here could be a Bernie Sanders or a Hillary Clinton or whatever politician you want, and he's inspiring people to follow his way of making an organization better again that's perhaps become corrupted.
And what I like about this too is that it convinces me a movie ahead of time that half of the Avengers would become outlaws for this guy.
Oh yeah. I like that. Did you write that down first, or was it at the top of your head? Like, you need that sort of levity. That's the problem with, like, we touch upon here, where, like, it's almost a great contrast here between this and Batman v Superman. That this is a guy who's made this huge, grandiose speech, and then someone's gone. It brings it down to a bit of levity, going, did you think that up beforehand? And it makes you kind of play along with the characters and kind of get up into the universe. Where if you take everything so seriously, it's hard to have a bit of fun and to kind of give these characters their edges, where everyone talks in perhaps monologues, right, and that you can't almost smile along with the serious scenes sometimes. Then that makes it kind of hard to be as enjoyable.
I love the scene of defiance.
Yeah,
for Captain America, Captain's orders.
Exactly. This shows that the little man can stand up. That's what Captain America... It's not just about him inspiring like little kids to fancy dress or him or cosplayer, turn people's minds from being, oh man, Captain America, what a dork, to, Captain America is inspiring people. Someone that this guy here, he could easily be me or you, Matt. That kind of geeky looking guy at his computer, and he's willing to take a bullet in the back of the head to follow Captain America's orders.
I do like, I know, again, issues with the film aside, I do like the fact that apparently Nick Fury thought very highly of that little guy and enough to put him on the helicarrier at the end of Ultron.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I thought that was funny.
And it's just little things like that where it's a nice little callback and pull in. And like, I think a lot of movies these days and have lost the sight of a good running time, and this is obviously just over 2 hours, and that's perhaps why it works so well, that it creates a tight focus that we've spoke about here, that there's still plenty of time to develop the characters, whether it's the scene about Nick Fury talking about his old man's gun, or the character moments are there, the action's there. It's such a well balanced film that I'm sure there's a 3-hour cut in there somewhere, but this is it's not just a throwback to a lot of 70s political thrillers. It's a throwback to some of the maybe more simpler times with action movies that we've got these days, where they do go on perhaps a bit too long.
Now, Civil War is going to be the longest Marvel movie, but
yeah.
I'm willing to bet, and this is on blind faith alone, I admit that, but when you're working with that many characters, Lee, and you have to service that many story arcs, maybe it does need to be that long.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I have no problem with a long running length if it has to be that way. Like, I will gladly sit through a 3-hour Christopher Nolan movie or a 3-hour, anything. But it's not length for the sake of a length. That if Civil War is, just shy of 3 hours or 2 hours, 49 minutes, whatever.
It's 2 hours 27.
Yeah. I think that's quite justifiable, and I can cope with that. If that's the way they want to do it, that's fine. Because I believe in these guys that they will be a good editor, that they'll have a good editor, and they will make sure that every scene is there for the sake of it, and it's not just bloated length for putting in subplots that go nowhere. Like, if I asked you to cut anything out of this movie, you couldn't think of anything. Mm-mm. Everything furthers the plot, everything furthers the characters, and that's really good.
You can't lose a second of this movie.
Like, I just think Robert Redford he's just such a confidence here, and like he reminds me almost of Peter Weller in Star Trek Into Darkness, when he realizes the game's up and he just goes, and all that sort of stuff. Just the way he kind of rolls his eyes when it all kind of starts to unfold, and he just has a swig of the champagne. It's just like that, come on, and all that sort of stuff. Like, oh well.
Well, I like him too. He's like, Redford's almost a better Bond villain than most Bond villains in this film.
Yeah, he's so good. There's Scarlett Johansson.
I love the "Did I Step on Your" moment. Like, just, being aware of how people monologue in these movies and making fun of that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Like, you need that. You need levity in movies. Say I made a speech like that. Even, like, you would say something and going, you kind of, like, that's how most people respond and react. That, when we get lectured by our parents, how many times have we had to have the last words or try and, you pomp the pompous. It's a very British thing to do to, okay, it's that kind of ties into the Blackadder, for example. You've got all these people on the front line following the orders of idiots and all that sort of stuff, and they can't help but just have a bit of humor and levity about it, that the situation is grim, but if you can't have a smile or a joke sometimes, then how bad things are a bit worse. And it's not saying that this film isn't dark and serious or doesn't deal with themes. It deals with it like normal people would. Just because they're superhero individuals doesn't mean that they can't crack a wee joke at each other's expense. So when you watch this, how did you feel this took up Marvel Phase 2 to a different thing? Do you feel this has now set the standard of what's expected from Marvel movies?
Absolutely. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but like 2014, that whole year for Marvel, because this and Guardians came out the same year. Oh, yeah. That year was groundbreaking. Dare I say even more groundbreaking than the first Avengers.
Yeah, for sure.
And first Avengers was pretty groundbreaking. But this took it to a whole nother expectation, to the point where as much as I didn't have a problem with Age of Ultron as you and some of the others did. Mm-hmm. I did feel watching that film that, I kind of think that after Winter Soldier, especially, we've kind of moved past the Joss Whedon era. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt coming out of that film. I was like, oh, okay, I can see why Whedon is not coming back for the third and fourth film.
I think the thing with Whedon is that he's got such a distinctive voice.
Right.
And that you notice the characters, and they do, like, you could, when you think of Firefly, Buffy, Angel, Dollhouse, all these things, they've got a very particular way of talking, that almost very self-aware. With the Russo brothers, I think they've got a style, and they... Now,
bearing in mind that they're not actually the writers, but I'm sure they work with the writers, obviously.
Yeah. And I think they let things breathe a bit more. Like, they let the Falcon be the Falcon. They let Captain America be Captain America. All these different things. Whereas Whedon, his fingerprints are sometimes just that little bit over them too much. And it can take you out sometimes that you're listening to that sharp-witted Joss Whedon dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, like, because... I see what you mean, because, like, I don't think the Russos would have made the Russos wouldn't have had Captain America make the language joke that he does in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and even though it's a really good line, you almost think of it, well, that's a Joss Whedon line. I think that's sometimes a problem with the sort of things we get these days, that we're so aware of the process more than ever before, that we watch these things and go, oh, there's Joss Whedon, and you become you're tuned into his dialogue.
Right, but it just felt like, it felt weird. Like I said, I didn't hate it, but, we just had this whole film where, like, his world is shattered, Captain America's. And, we get to the beginning of Avengers Age of Ultron, and I'm like, he just had his whole world shattered, but he's still bothered by language. Like, it just, it felt like, I love him, but I felt like Whedon didn't evolve with the films with where they were going. Yeah. He probably, and that's no fault of his own. I mean, I know that for a fact that they hired him to do Avengers 2 right after Avengers 1. And he started working on it right after Avengers 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it couldn't help but feel more of a sequel to that film than this film. But I think that I truly don't think that will be a problem going forward.
No.
Again,
like, I think Joss Whedon had, like, even though we're maybe sounding a bit down on Joss Whedon, like, to be able to pull together Avengers Assemble is such a huge, huge job. And I think Age of Ultron was just perhaps things like that, where it wasn't a failure. It just was a flawed movie, despite what anyone thinks. There's flaws with it.
No, even I think that. But the thing is that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen this too, Lee, the internet kind of wants to vilify him after Age of Ultron, and I don't, because I think that as flawed as that movie might have been, this universe wouldn't be where it is without him.
No, for sure. And I think we owe him a huge, huge debt to be able to have pulled it together. And, he had a lot of influence in those early Phase 1 movies and the start of Phase 2. And I just feel that maybe if Whedon had the opportunity again, he wouldn't go back and do Age of Ultron. That he would have said, you know what, guys, he would have maybe gone out on top with Avengers Assemble. But sometimes you see it with perhaps, say, Sam Mendes recently, where Skyfall was such a huge success. Everyone's patting you on the back, you're the greatest. And even though you say, like, Sam Mendes, okay, Skyfall was the thing, I'm done, I'm maybe going to move on now. Right. And sometimes when you're successful, you go, I need to get back in the game.
We've seen that a lot lately. I mean, we saw it with Whedon, we saw it with Sam Mendes, and we saw it kind of with, even though I don't agree with it as much, we saw it kind of with J.J. Abrams and Star Trek, right?
Yeah. Like, it's so hard to sometimes be able to go out on top. Like, could you imagine if you were a director and you got to do Bond and the Avengers? Like, you get to play with these amazing toys. Like, and it's so successful. Sometimes it's hard not to go, guys, I'll go on, I'm back in it again and all that sort of stuff. It must be such a buzz to be, like, play on that kind of fantasy and set. I mean, that's why I was, even though I had faith in them, that's why I was nervous before Civil War came out. I was like, I hope that this is not another second directorial slump. Yeah.
Doesn't look like it so far. I'm hoping it stays that way.
And I suppose, like, with being, like, you almost probably think of them as almost probably like the Coens and stuff. When you've got two different people working together, I think
that's the difference.
Sometimes that can help each other. When, say, Whedon's got some burnout or something along those lines, that you've got someone there that can perhaps, like, you pull in different strengths, that you don't need to be that one person that's trying to cover all departments, that you can go, okay, Anthony, I want you to cover such and such. Okay, Mr. Russo too, his name escapes me at the moment. Joe Russo, I want you to cover this thing. Like, I've seen a lot of kind of duos that seem to work really well. And
well, I think that's what it is, Lee. It's Whedon was, you have to remember, he was both writing the whole screenplay and story for Age of Ultron and directing it solo, right?
Yeah.
So, and you watch his interviews around the time, he just looks like he's tired, and I feel bad for him.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't blame him. But in watching the Russos now, sure, they're probably tired and they're going all over the place, but they don't seem like they're suffering from burnout, which I think is the difference.
Yeah.
And not only that, there's two of them, and they're not writing. They have two other writers.
Exactly. They can delegate, and that's sometimes what's missing with these movies is being able to delegate and let other people just get on with things. And I think that's what Marvel has done really well. That there's not just a hive mind where they all count on one person to do every single job and all that sort of stuff. But everyone knows their role and will kind of take it from there. Like, I think this is really good. The action scenes here that. I was watching a documentary the other day where it was talking about, the Star Wars movies. They talked about 4, 5, 6, and into Episode 1. And they talked about how at the beginning of Episode 4, it was all about getting to the Death Star, blowing up the Death Star, good. In Episode 2, they had everyone escaping Cloud City and Luke facing Leia, Darth Vader. And then in 3, it got a bit more. You had what was going on in space, what was going downstairs. And then in Episode 1, they had the 4 different threads where they had Jar Jar and...
Too much.
The dual thing. This doesn't fall into that trap. Like, it's all focused on getting to this end point where they just need the card to insert the card, and they're all in one location, so the tone is really quite consistent, where sometimes with a lot of these action movies these days it's too much, it's overwhelming. So I think this is really good. This is why it packs a punch, and it's not half an hour longer than it should be.
I like the fact that they kept it to 3, because you got Cap and Bucky having their fight. You've got Widow and Fury facing off against Robert Redford. And then you've got Falcon facing off with Crossbones.
Oh, yeah. I've just got someone sent me a tweet here and all that sort of stuff. I put up that we were recording an audio commentary on Captain America. And they went, don't forget to mention those god-awful champagne flutes. So we'll have to have a wee look out into that. So thank you to Wanton Italics for that comment.
I think we've already passed that part.
I think so, but... I can't remember there being a problem with the champagne flutes, so that shows the success of this movie. When people are complaining about champagne flutes, that's minor. Like, I love this fight between the two of them. It's so good. See if, like, the line, obviously, that we're just coming up to, like, I'm with you till the end of the line. Like, that's quite similar to what we almost see in the trailer coming up with, I thought I was your friend, and I really have a good feeling that there's going to be a lot of emotional heart into this conflict that I'm sure everyone that's listened to this has seen that brilliant 7-minute YouTube video.
I was going to ask if you saw the Road to Civil War trailer.
Oh, God, it's so good, isn't it?
Yes. That hyped me more up than even some of the trailers.
Oh, yeah. It's just an incredible thing. And I think we've taken... And I may be speaking from out of turn, but I think a lot of people have taken for granted all the work that this series has done to get to this point. When you watch that, you think, Jesus, they really have done such an incredible job to make this, conflict between the Avengers so real and so deserved. And, it's so... You watch it and go, yeah. You see bits of it in Age of Ultron where they're kind of peppering the stake for this conflict. And then you watch that trailer and you go, it's been there since the first, minute that it's going to come to this moment.
And that's why, that's why stuff like that's why Batman v Superman and the whole premise of it bothered me so much. It's not because I hate DC. It's not because I don't want DC to be successful over Marvel. It's just that, it didn't feel like it was earned. Like, here we've had 12 movies of them setting up this conflict to where you can do something like this and we can buy it.
Oh, yeah. And, like, things like that it's not rushed. And, yeah, they have had successes and failures along the way, but they've really, really earned this moment. Like, when it comes to Civil War, like, I think it's a Civil War we're all going to be able to agree is, is a justifiable conflict. And I love this fight here between Bucky and Cap, where it is that they're kind of superhumans, but it's still resorted to just like being able to whacking each other and using guns. They're not using, ridiculous contraptions or contrived solutions. It's just two guys that are just fighting to survive. Like, it's almost that kind of... It's been consistent with the theme in this movie of how violence is used. and it's excellent. Like, to see our superheroes, like that line in Batman v Superman, "Tell me, do you bleed?" We see Captain America bleeding here because he's been fighting for it. Like it's not just a cheesy thing. It's he's bleeding. He could have got rid of the Winter Soldier much easier, but he's fighting for his friend, and it's a bloody effort to do it. So the blood is not just from the physical fight, but from the toll and the effort he's doing to save his best friend. That, you know, "leave no man behind" is one of the most famous lines from the military.
Well, not only that, I mean, this is his only family at this point. Peggy's almost an invalid. Everybody he knew back in the 40s is dead. Mm-hmm. Bucky's the only person he's got left. Yeah,
and like you would fight for that. He's spent the whole day fighting to kind of keep it going.
I love the little bit of what we just saw of Widow shocking herself to get rid of the bomb on her chest.
Yeah, and there he goes. See, even Nick Fury gets to take out the bad guy in this movie for a change and all that. Like, I think Alexander Pierce is a cracking villain. It's so well played by Robert Redford, and you know, it was such a coup to get him, and you know, I think he's definitely introduced a lot of generations to his great acting, and hopefully people seek out things like, you know, All the President's Men and. Yeah, and people have complained that it is a bit of a CG overload ending. I don't buy into that. Like, the majority of it is just like hand-to-hand combat, and with just a few minutes of CGI wreckage, and there's no real kind of collateral damage here. It's things just falling into the water.
We don't think so, but obviously in Civil War, it's going to be a problem. The fallout from this,
exactly. But like, in terms of like, it's taking place above a river, and it's really not much of a thing where you're thinking, oh my god, like people are in danger. And
no, but did you see obviously, like, no one freeze frames Civil War trailers like I did.
Oh, of course.
But when that second trailer came out, when General Ross is making the presentation about, you know, New York, Washington, D.C., Sokovia, if you freeze frame it on each of the individual incidents, you can see damage inflicted in terms of dollar amount, and you can see casualties recorded. There were casualties at this Washington, D.C. Incident.
Excellent. I've received a further update on the champagne flute. You know, this is the one and only geek podcast where it focuses on champagne flutes. Apparently, the champagne flutes are offensively tasteless, though, and nouveau riche. So, thank you very much, Caitlin, for your insights on these champagne flutes. We'll have to get her on the podcast one day to talk about some of her favourite champagne flutes, beer glasses, and shot glasses in the future. That's just so cool when you see it. Just like, even though it was slightly ruined by being in the trailer, like when I saw it, like, introduced to the building at the beginning, and I just love seeing Falcon run, like, where are you? Oh, this way. And he's just like that kind of.
I just love this moment. Like, it's not like they put the floor numbers on the side of the building.
Exactly. That's what it would be like in real life, wouldn't it?
Now, this scene is so emotional. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it's weird saying this, Lee, but I kind of want Civil War to tear me apart and destroy me. I know that sounds weird saying that, but I want to go on an emotional, pummeling thrill ride.
Because that's the problem with like a lot of comic book movies, is it's so rare to get that emotional being torn apart. Like, we go in for fun and adventure, and like the core of this movie, and it's going to be very exciting to watch this as a trilogy, to see the relationship of the Bucky, Barnes, and Captain America, because we're halfway there. Like, we know how it started, we know in the beginning, but how's it going to end? What's going to happen with these two next? That I'm really, really excited to see. Like, that thread is going to be between the three, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, you know, completed.
Now, I'm going to have to be very careful, because, like, I think this film, this Civil War, more than any other film that's come out in the Marvel Universe before, this is the most spoiler phobic I've ever been.
Yeah, and that's quite impressive by your standards. like I just can't wait to go in there opening night and see what happens, where this relationship goes next. That why, what's going to happen to make the Cap throw away really everything that's kind of gone on in the few years of the Avengers for Bucky. Like, where's this relationship going to go? How far will they go for each other? That, the Avengers is basically could be torn apart because of these two characters. I'm just so excited. I just feel that, if it's half as good as this movie, then we really are in for a treat. That, anyone that says that Marvel's just disposable fun and a bit silly, this movie just shows on it.
I think even with its missteps, Marvel has done, what Star Wars managed to do back in the 70s. It's created this franchise that people love and people are invested in, and I really do think it, as fleeting as attention spans and memories are in this day and age, I really do think that come 20 years down the line, the MCU is going to be remembered in the same breath as something like a Star Wars.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because it's the little things that we've constantly come back to, that little kids cosplay as Captain America, and how many people, like I when I go out running, I see people wearing the Captain America Under Armour, people that really are embracing the characters so well, and that's young and old. So things like that continue to expand outwards.
I never thought, Lee, we were talking about this earlier, and we're reaching the end of this film now. Did you imagine, 10 years ago, that one of your favorite superheroes to be portrayed ever in a movie would be Captain America?
No.
Captain America.
Like, I'm a Batman is my guy. Like, I love Batman. Batman will always be my favorite superhero character. But I think, see if Winter Soldier didn't come out, I would enjoy the Marvel movies. Like, I've enjoyed most of them for the most part. But Winter Soldier really resonates a lot with me. It's a very mature, it's very confident, it's such a strong, incredible, great movie. And that's got me invested in it. Like, I love the franchise from this moment really onwards. Whereas before I thought, so good, really good, good series. Yeah, I'll go see these movies. It wasn't like it didn't have the same level as, say, a Bond movie is always an event for me, or, certain directors. Now Marvel movies are up there because of this movie, that it has brought the franchise up to higher expectations and higher demands. I love this final montage where it brings all the threads to an end, and there's Gary Shandling leaving the room, and Crossbones.
Crossbones.
Yeah.
Can't wait to. He looks like we've seen a little bit, just a glimpse of him in the trailer, and he looks badass in that armor.
For sure. I think the scene here with Natasha is really good.
I'm sorry, Batman v Superman, but this is how you do a Senate hearing scene, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Wait, is that water next to her, or is that some piss iced tea? I still can't get over that scene. That's very bizarre. Where do I recognize him from again? He rings a bell. He was in a TV series, I think, quite recently. But yeah, it's just a nice little moment here, and that's Stephen Culp, Star Trek Enterprise there, and he was in the...
Is that really?
Yeah, that's Stephen Culp.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, there you go. I can't remember who the other guy sat next to him, the military guys, but that's Stephen Culp, who plays Riker's replacement in Star Trek Nemesis, and he plays a Mako in Star Trek Enterprise.
I never, because he's one of those... Stephen Culp is one of those everymen.
Oh, yeah.
I never, you had to point it out, but now I see it. It's so cool.
Yeah. I love this moment of Fury going off off Rogue, and it is almost a shame that he kind of reverts back to Nick Fury of Shield almost within two movies. It feels like there's a
in Age of Ultron he's got the they made that was one of the things that I was like, because they make a big deal about him burning his old identity and throwing everything away at the end of this movie, and then all of a sudden he's got the helicarrier and he's back with the eye patch in Ultron. So
So it just feels like, appearing in the shed and all that. And it just feels like it kind of takes a little bit away from this kind of powerful ending.
That's why I say I really do think that Ultron was written before these movies were even in production. Because it feels that way.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Have you ever noticed what's written on his gravestone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did the first time.
I did notice it my first time, but I think it was like my second time. I was watching going, wait, and you know that moment when you start looking around the cinema, you just want someone else to like just acknowledge it. That's the
path
thing
of
as
the
well.
righteous man.
Yeah.
Yes. That's brilliant.
I know, like, I always find it kind of funny that the actual last line of this movie, that, you know, even though it's not a significant kind of line almost, as it were, like, it's actually in the trailer, just like, when did we begin? We just did, sort of thing. Like, it kind of ties straight in. Like, it's quite
kind
cool.
of brilliant, because even though that's in the trailer and you could argue that it spoils it, you don't expect that to be the last line of the film.
Exactly. And it's not like it's a spoiler. You go, oh my god, I can't believe they ruined the final line. It's just like a line that could have been anywhere in the movie. It reminds me of the final shot of the first Spider-Man movie is actually in the trailer as well. It's just little things like that always make me smile when I go, oh, that was actually... It's quite cleverly done in a way.
I like how this film ends, and just thinking about it, like, I kind of wish we would have gotten a little bit more of an explanation of why they came back together in Ultron, because I mean, she's going her separate ways, and she says she's going underground.
Yeah.
Clearly she's not that underground next time we see her.
Yeah, it just feels like a bit of a, like, there's a movie missing, or like that, right, I want to see a movie where it's like Cap and Falcon out there looking for Bucky, and it almost feels like, oh wait, they've kind of just got back together, and I know they're still chasing up the it just feels like there's something kind of missing there, and, you know,
I do know that, you know, when they were writing Ultron, they had to assume that people hadn't seen all the movies at that point, but I think we've now reached that point in the MCU where I think we can throw that out the window now, because I think that they've earned the right that, you know, if you haven't seen these movies, what are you doing with your life?
Oh yeah, and here we are now at the end of the movie, and we've got to be proper proper audio commentary. We've got to see it right through to the end, to the post credit scene. Like, I love these credit scenes here.
I do too.
And everything like that. They're so cool. Like,
and like I said, I love this. I love this soundtrack. I really do.
Oh yeah, I like to play it sometimes when I'm running. Just that kind of, like, it's almost that little cry when, like, for the Winter Soldier. I can't really describe it very well.
It's what it is. It's like an electronic scream.
Yeah, like, I think the problem that you've touched on before is, like, I don't think any of the scores, perhaps apart from this and a bit of the Avengers theme, none of it's ever really stood out. Like, you never sit in there think, when I think of, say, the Dark Knight music or the Danny Elfman Spider-Man, you know, a lot of these kind of movies, they all have a kind of a bit of a theme. Whereas I struggle to think of many of the Avenger themes. I think the Captain America First Avenger had a good one, but none of these Avenger movies, you know, you can say Guardians of the Galaxy, but even then, that was kind of a soundtrack.
See, but that's what I was going to say, is I like how Guardians made up for it in the fact that they had a soundtrack.
Oh yeah, the amount of royalties that composers must have made off that movie was quite incredible.
You know, it's funny that I think that one of the most anticipated things for me about Guardians 2 is what songs are going to be on the soundtrack. I know that sounds weird, but it's...
No, I'm the same. I'd kill to hear it right now. Like, I've actually got the cassette tape from the movie. They released it here when the Blu-ray came out for like a week. You could buy the cassette tape. So I don't have a cassette tape player to play it on, but I've got it. I just think these images of the characters are really cool, and I think one of my one of my issues I had with here's our first cutscene. So this is where we start to introduce the kind of the concept for Age of Ultron, the twins.
Correct.
And Baron von Strucker, isn't it? Yeah, and it really shows that Marvel Phase 3 is going to be dealing a lot more with the kind of the magic world. We'll see that a lot more with Doctor Strange.
Well, because the thing is, we find out in Ultron that this is one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
The Tesseract from the first Avengers was an Infinity Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ether from Thor 2 was an Infinity Stone.
That's right, yeah.
And we found one in Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
So we still need to find, I think, like 2 or 3 more.
I think that we'll see a lot more of that in Thor 3, and that's a movie I'm really looking forward to. The casting they've been making has been fantastic.
I love that it's going to be a Thor and Hulk movie.
Oh yeah! Did you see who they cast this week as in the movie?
Yeah. Tessa Thompson. Yeah,
she was fantastic in Creed. So yeah.
You know who I'm really, 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 really excited to see what they're gonna do with what the Russos are gonna do with Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, but quite funny there if they said it's the twins, and then it was actually Mary Kate and Ashley that they had
Yes.
in the little the tunnel there.
Quite frankly, I think Elizabeth is the talented one.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's I can't think of a bad movie she's been in. So now we've got the end credits rolling for the next few minutes before our final scene. So what kind of, Matt, what was your kind of, when you walked out the cinema the first time, what was your initial reaction to the movie? How did you feel?
I was pumped. I was so happy that I took the following day from work off, because even when I got home and went to bed, I couldn't fall asleep for like at least an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was so hyped from this film.
And like, what was your grand total in the end? Was it like 7 times?
7.
7. There
7. I think it was 7, and it just missed the record, my record of 8 for Star Trek 09.
Oh yeah, I think my record is around 11 for The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, I went and saw that film just over and over, and I think I recently just saw Star Wars Force Awakens again. We don't get the Blu-ray till Monday, so I had to take a chance to see that again at the cinema. But I think with films like this that people would, we've probably all heard it before. Like, why do you go to the cinema so often, or why do you need to see this movie more than once or twice? Sometimes it's fun. Like, you don't maybe get the opportunity to see movies like you love and genuinely enjoy much, and it can sometimes be that you're just sitting at home and
that's kind of why I'm doing the marathon for Civil War.
Yeah, like how many people would say, if you said, oh yeah, I've watched Winter Soldier 7 times on Netflix or something over the past few months, no one would bat an eyelid. But the fact that they think it's a bit different for going to the cinema, when it's really not. It's a comfort blanket. Like, I loved like the Star Wars Force Awakens. I think it's got its flaws, but I think it's a comfort blanket of a movie that, in a way, Winter Soldier is, that you can sit back and you just watch it for a few hours. You love being in the company of these characters. You love the adventures, the action scenes. It doesn't feel like you're kind of being put in, this is a tough watch, or it's a really good running time. It's just over 2 hours, so you're not sitting there like wasting a whole day. You're only just like, look at us now. We started this back at 5 o'clock, and we had a wee technical glitch in the middle, but 2 and a bit hours later, here we are. We've had a really good time, and I can imagine me and you just sat on the couch here with a couple of drinks, just watching this, and that's what watching films is about, whether it's going yourself to the cinema to see it, or doing this commentary.
But specifically when this was in the cinema, though, my feeling too is that when a movie is this good and it touches me this much, that I want to go as many times, because I this sounds kind of cheesy to say, but I want to give my money to these filmmakers.
Yeah, like I saw a thing today where it was talking. It's like, I don't know if you've got it in America. It's called Record Day, where people release special edition vinyls for a day.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got that here, and people are queuing up, and people go, why would you do that? Like, there's people that have vinyls that they're not able to listen to or do anything with them, and they go, well, what a waste of money. But sometimes for me, I've got a couple of vinyls, and my vinyl player's not working, so I need to get a wee component part. But I've got a Wrath of Khan one, for example, an Aliens one, and all that sort of stuff. And these are movies I love, and they've given me so much. And see if I can give a few quid to the project and say, hey, here's a bit of money. Thank you so much. It's like podcasts. Podcasts are, in a way, are free, but sometimes people have, we don't have one for the Nerd Party, but Patreon and donations and stuff. Hey guys, I really enjoy your thing. Just want to give you a bit of money towards it. And that's the same with me and some films sometimes, that I want to go along and support the film, make sure that it's getting seen, maybe buy an edition of it on Blu-ray. I might not watch it for a good few months, but it's supporting those films, supporting the creative talents, giving them the encouragement to continue to make a movie.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you vote with your wallet with these films, and
oh yeah,
I voted very hard with my wallet for this film.
Oh, definitely. And it's things like doing things like this where it's a podcast, and who knows how many people will listen to us talk for 2 hours, 15 minutes and 54 seconds. Who knows? But you know what? It really doesn't matter, because I love talking about this movie, and I'm so glad that we were able to talk about it with Tristan for a wee while and talk about it together. And it's hopefully going to be something where we're going to maybe do a bit more regularly on the Nerd Party. It's just, talking about movies like this. Just, we talk about them for maybe an hour in the podcast, but maybe as a wee bonus once in a while, we're going to do an audio commentary. So thank you so much if you've stuck with us and listened to it, or even if you listened to it for 15 minutes. It's, thanks.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun to talk about this film. we're just about to get our second end credit scene here in
yeah?
a couple of minutes, but this was fun. And I don't know about you, but after rewatching this again, I'm hyped. I cannot wait. Civil War.
I think I'm like 12 days and stuff. I think I'm 12 days until I go see it again. So I'm actually in trouble. The marathon's on my girlfriend's birthday. So, oops. So I might be in the bad books that day, but she knows, and there was a bit of a misunderstanding about the date. So
here's our tease for, I guess, Civil War. Since that's where we're seeing this character.
Absolutely. Again. Bucky Barnes is starting to remember. Oh, he's sitting there looking, going, wasn't that guy in Star Trek First Contact?
Yes. But I love just him looking at himself and...
Yeah.
And actually, I'm looking at what he's wearing in this scene. That does look like what he wears in Civil War. I wonder if this is like going to be pretty close together.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the end scene of Ant-Man links in with this. It's going to be quite exciting. So there we go. Captain America will appear again in Captain America Civil War. Well, thank you very much for your time. Oh, there he goes. Captain America will return in Age of Ultron. Nice little James Bond touch there. I love
how they've been doing that now with their films.
So yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?
Yes, thank you so much, not only to you, Lee, for joining me for this film, to Tristan for joining us, at least for the first part of it. Thank you to the listeners if you've made it this far. We just love talking about this film and getting hyped for Civil War. Lee, if they want to follow you and talk about thoughts on this film, the other films, or any film in particular, where can they reach you? Yeah,
they can find me at Lee_Nostromo on Twitter and Instagram. And if you've got any ideas for audio commentaries you'd like to hear me, Matt, Tristan, John, Matt Rush, and any of the guys, do together, please get in touch. And, certainly something we'll consider. And, I think this could be an exciting wee, bonus where you get once a month.
Yes, definitely. I had fun. Hopefully you did too. Thank you so much for joining us for our special Captain America the Winter Soldier commentary. This is us at the Nerd Party saying we're with you to the end of the line.
Hail Hydra.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.